Hello, hello, welcome everyone. If you're viewing this on Twitch TV, if you're viewing this on YouTube at a later date, I am Sam Tate. I am Ace Maneuvers. I am joined today by Chris Smith, who I believe is running with the Universus Academy, folks. Thank you so much for joining me today, Chris. And we'll get into it just a little bit, but if you're noticing, we don't have our videos up on the screen. There was just a little bit of a technical issue right at the last minute, and I figured we can still broadcast to you guys. We can still do the podcast. It doesn't have to be the visual aspect. So if you were tuning in to see our beautiful mugs, I deeply apologize, but hopefully you will still stick with us and listen to all the beautiful nuggets of information and stories that Chris Smith has to offer. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Sam. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm glad you reached out because I've listened to a bunch of your episodes and I enjoy your content. So thanks for having me on to have an old man ramble for an hour or two. So thank you.
No, man, it's been awesome. I was going to have you on a bit sooner, to be honest, but I noticed you were doing a lot of the podcasting circuit. You were helping out a lot of the, I guess you could say, newer members of the community when it comes to creating content and things like that, making the rounds. And a couple of the guys I was hoping to get in touch with soon were actually the Universus Academy people. So now this could maybe be like a cool... maybe that could be a cool segue. We're going to note, heads up, Chris is echoing and real quiet. Let me see if I can turn just you up and fix that echo, bud. Let me... Yeah, that was something we were trying to deal with a little earlier. All right. Speak first now, Chris.
I am Chris Smith, and I am part of Universus Academy.
Okay. It probably had a higher, probably more echo, but I think we got the volume solved.
Oopsies.
All right. Yeah, we were first having the video issues, then we were having the sound issues, but then we fixed the sound issues, so hopefully this is working out for us. But yeah, so I'd wanted to reach out to the Universus Academy guys up here pretty soon. Yeah. He says they can hear you at least, so we'll roll with that. I'll see what I can do on my end while you're talking here. But tell me, Chris, you've got the experience with podcasting before, coming back to doing everyone else's shows, not necessarily, being like the face of the brand, and now kind of rolling with the UA folks, Ryan and John. What is like the biggest difference just initially from when you were doing the Guile Treatment podcast?
Also, I just want to add Matt Childress is in the group too. He's just been busy like the last month and a half, so we have an inside joke that I permanently replaced him, but I have not permanently replaced him. I'm just the fourth member now.
Gotcha. Okay, that's my apologies, Matt. I've met Matt. He's an awesome dude. I feel so bad for not mentioning him now.
Now, to be fair, he hasn't been. We're kind of like a what is it, like a rolling, almost like a. We switch in and out members. It's almost like a musical chairs type show because
it's the Freebirds rule.
Yeah, so it's like whoever's available just shows up. We have not done the 4-man episode yet, so I'm hoping after they get back from Origins this weekend as of recording, we can do a 4-man because I want to live vicariously through them because I didn't get to go. But to your original question, for when I was on the Guile Treatment, me and Rob. I was doing everything on the channel. I was editing. I was, doing everything. The big difference now is I don't have to do all of that because Ryan does it. So I have so much free time to play the game now. And it's more of a passion project than it is because I really wanted to try to become the first Jasco licensed content creator, yada, yada, yada. And that was all in the past. And but now it's just doing it for fun. And to be honest with you, Sam, it's awesome. Like, I have a blast playing more now. I have a blast doing recordings now, and I've just recently started doing deck profiles for the channel because Ryan hates talking about decks. me and Matt can talk for hours about cards, but Ryan hates talking about cards. So so he just sits there because like we did an episode where we talked about like our newest set 2 decks, and he's like, I play May. She's fun. I'm done. And then that's all we talked about, And me and Matt will talk for like half an hour each on what we were playing. And so he just like, I'd rather just play cards, man, instead of talk about them. So it's just kind of funny that we each have our own roles, and we complement each other very well. And it's just super easy having a team instead of like doing it by myself. It's just easier to have a team because now I just call him my editor now, so it's awesome. So I have an editor. Woo! So
That does sound pretty sweet.
I
For me, when it comes to the deck profile video, it feels like phony for me personally because I don't watch the whole deck profile videos. I'm that guy that's just looking for the list. I want to see, maybe like I'll scroll through and try to find like what seems like the most important thing that they talk about, right? Or kind of skim through it. But, having clicked on a lot of deck profile videos just to find the list, it felt kind of scrupulous if I were to turn around and start trying to do them. The other thing too is just like the not having like a tested or proven deck. Like I have no problem doing the deck profile on my top 16 deck, on my top 8, like a good finish, right? Like it's proven something worked, obviously. But when it's like the day one deck profile, if I were to put that out there, I would just be so nervous people are gonna tear it apart because I haven't used it yet, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of the goal I've set for myself. This, I guess, set 2 format, if we want to call it that. I want to play every character for 2 events, so I'll have because we play twice weekly. We play Wednesdays and we play Saturdays. And Saturdays usually the bigger tournament. So Wednesday I'll come with my first draft build, and then I'll send it to some people to get some ideas because the more eyes that look at it, the better, in my opinion. And Friday night I will make my final changes. Saturday I will play it, and then I will make more changes off of how I do on that Saturday tournament. My Shoto 2 deck that I just posted a deck profile on, I went 1-1-1 my first tournament with it, and then I went undefeated the next week with it, and then I even found more changes like card quality wise, like why am I not playing this card because I need this in my deck and yada and so on and so forth. And then I even kind of preface that in my deck profile videos where it's more of a, hey, this is like a version 2 or 3 build, but it could also be pushed further if you want. And it's just, I just want to try to, because my own personal goal of playing every character before set 3 is out, I don't have that much time to like really settle on, like to sit and iterate on a deck, because I already do that with my All Might 3 and my Midnight deck. Those are my 2 real, like, I guess, regional builds that I'm considering, for any type of big event. But I think the set 2 characters, I think, are really good just to try them at locals and see where you go, because I think that's where you start, right? Is you start with the day 1 build, you take it to locals, you pass it around to your friends, ask for, and then you take it to the next locals, and then you figure out from there where you want to go, in my opinion.
Well, so for me, my method has typically been to make the rough draft deck. It's almost always super hyper focused on one synergy. Like, what is the thing I want to perform the most? And back at Worlds 2020, it was primarily playing Tim Keefe 2. I always wanted to see like a big power flip turn, right? Like I always wanted to have some kind of building or adding to my resources on my turn, because I wanted to like mess with my opponent's math, right? Like either it was a big draw or a big, power flip play. And then I would test it, find out where the weaknesses are, and then be upset and throw the deck in the trash, and then ask Tamron Cardwell to make a deck for me, and then I just play whatever he makes.
That's funny.
I'm super bad at iterating on a deck, because if it's not doing what I want it to do in the first place, because of who I am as a person, I'm not really a competitive player, and I'm not really like competitive mindset first. Like it takes a while for me playing a deck, and I have to really be, just in my zone, I guess you could say, to hone in on like the competitive aspect of this game. Typically when I build a deck, I just find something really funny and unfair and try to do that as much as possible.
Nice. That's hilarious.
My early set 1 testing was all just Froppy 1-dot. I played nothing but Froppy for maybe 2 full months, and it was just exclusively based off the fact that she has an unfair number of cards she can play.
Yes. Very true. Very true.
when it came to like standard before, I played Tim Keefe 2 and I played the Dark One. Both were decks that I borrowed from someone at those events. The Dark One deck was like a rough draft. Ryan McLean, one of the people who was working for Jasco at the time, he's sitting at the judge's booth. I'm like, hey man, I don't have a singles deck. What do you got on you? And I think he had Dalsum in the Dark One. And I was like, all right, I'll take the character that came out this month.
Of course he has Dalsum, of course,
yeah. It was something like that. He's like, I just got some fun decks, man, So that's been my history playing this card game is whatever I tried to build, I'd never do well with, no matter how good the character is. But if I just borrow someone else's deck, I usually skate to top cuts.
Did you top with the Dark One, or did you get close to tops that Worlds with him?
I did top. Remember. I was in a diversity battle, and I beat my last round opponent, and the other Dark One, who I believe had a better deck than me. Like 100%, we sat next to each other in like round 5 or 6, like the penultimate rounds. And I was watching him. He was playing like big shots. I was on Evil. He was on Fire. And he's like, he's playing big shots. He's got missile launchers. He's like, his discard pile is always full of 2 checks. Like I'm like sweating over here. Like, bro, his deck is it's got defense. Like he can block. Like,
well, you knew borrowing a deck from Ryan that it would eventually, if it had the evil symbol on it, that's what symbol it would be on, because he was an evil player back then.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, when I first saw the Dark One, my immediate thought was you need Revoke. You have to have the free build Revoke. So Evil made a lot of sense. Another card I think he was playing that I stopped at some point and I waffled on back and forth was Early Awakening. Do you remember that card?
Is that that's the Morrigan card, right?
Yeah. It's a Morrigan 2/5 that...
Oh, I remember what it does.
Yeah, so you can remove it from the game, remove, and then you can add all copies of it, was it Early Awakening, to your staging area, ready. So the idea was you mill a whole bunch of copies of Early Awakening, and then you can cash 1 foundation in for 2 or 3, which is a really big deal when you suffer to build, right? When you have issues passing your early build turns. But the other thing is that it also just gives a ton of speed once you get those multiple copies out. And so you don't have a lot of problems finding damage, and having that speed to force the damage through on your really powerful attacks was nice. So like the evil version made sense to me until I saw big shots in action on turn 2.
Yeah, until you saw the fire build punking people. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and then shortly after World's Burst Time came out, which, burst timing people on turn 1 and 2 with 1 million multiple copies was a thing.
That was the Sea Viper card?
Yeah, the Sea Viper DLC card. I wish I had these on my hard drive. I'd pop them up for people. I just went searching for Early Awakening. But yeah, the Sea Viper one that has like a combo stun or something like that, and it just makes 3 momentum, and then they become multiples, and if you can put damage on every multiple, there's almost no way to deal with it.
Sure. Yeah, I remember because when you brought up the build for Early Awakening in draft, I drafted like 9 of those at the pre-release, and I got to build 8 of them or 7 of them one turn. It was pretty awesome. I still lost, but my deck was bad because I just wanted to build a bunch of free Early Awakenings and just see what happened. And of course I lost because I didn't really have a focus on my draft deck because I just wanted all the foundations that I could build for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, that card was funny in draft. That card was hilarious.
My first thought when you said that you built 8 copies of Early Awakening was that you would just mill yourself. You would just take 8 cards into your stage that you can't get back.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So fun. It was fun though. It was like, because when you were talking about being like, your competitive juices, like it takes you a while. It's like back in the old game. Well, I guess I should say that before the MHA, I would like to consider myself a heavily competitive player and doing content, and I think that kind of suffered a little bit. But with MHA, I'm just more relaxed now with it. It's just like I'm trying to have fun with the game, and I want to do well in big events and stuff like that. But I think it comes down to I want to have fun with the deck I'm playing. Like I want to find my primary deck is All Might 3, and finding ways to iterate on that has been a lot of fun with set 2 because there's so many new punches on the good symbol, and like I've moved away from reverse throw in him because Faith Shield exists and Ice Storm exists, and I'm tired of getting Breaker 2'd on my first attack, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm just gonna play Ricochet Charge and stun people, and I have the air symbol, so if they don't block it for some random reason, it clears. So that's been a really fun addition. Same thing with Swift. Like we talked in pre-show about Small and Limber. That card is fantastic in him because with self-sacrifice, you always have an onboard ready a foundation or two.
Yeah.
I think that when you aren't so hyper focused on doing well all the time, you actually get to like stop and smell the roses, I guess you want to say, and have fun and find neat little things and little combos. Like I'm playing, I know Pippa was playing her All Might 1 deck at the Vegas regional, and it was like the talk of the entire tournament from what I've heard. And I've been playing that deck this week for fun, and oh my god, that deck, I don't know how competitive it is, but it's fun throwing 70-something damage attacks at people on turn 3. It's fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely ready to catch you with your pants down.
Yeah, it is.
I had fooled around with an All Might 1 that was playing like Gale Force and Detroit Smash, like for the meme, right? Like all the 6-2 punches, they're just real big. And for that character in set 1, like you were pretty much just riding on a prayer that you can force one through anyway. So having the plus ultra or you die mentality was fine. And then when someone was telling me that there's an All Might 1 playing Howitzer Impact Cyclone, I went, oh man, that is a lot of card draw.
Yes, it is.
That is a ton of cards in your hand. So
yes, it is.
I might have to put that one together myself. I definitely want to see it in action.
Last night, because we had locals last night, and we didn't have a tournament because there was only 3 of us, but we were just fooling around with decks, and I got a powerful 11 off once. That was really fun. You draw a lot of cards in that deck, and if you like drawing cards, I definitely recommend trying it out. It's hilarious and it's fun. It's just like if you don't have apathetic to flip a damage reset, you lose.
Right.
But more often than not, your opponent's sweating every time you play attacks because they have no idea. Because every card in the deck could technically be a powerful 5, a powerful 6, a powerful whatever, because they're all furies or punches. So it's just hilarious, and it's kind of refreshing that, like, back when we had the Bebop meta, it was Bebop or bust, and every time a set came out, it was like, well, these kind of power creep out the cards before it or whatever, and now it just seems like this and the MHA with only 2 sets, obviously. Set 2 is equal to power level in a way, or maybe just a little below it, that we haven't like fully explored it yet. So it's only been out for like a month or so. So
yeah,
it has been fully delved into, in my opinion.
Yeah, my impression is that set 1 had the focus of you should be attacking, like the reward for attacking and for having maybe not necessarily like an aggro or an aggressive plan, but having, your offense put together was, the most important thing. And I think set 2 really rounded out our defensive options. And, they talked about the slower pace of decks over the regional, Aspira and Alliteration Gaming were talking about the slower pace of decks, and I think that was like a conscious decision by most players. I think most people were just, sort of over having, here's a huge flash attack, here's 5th string frog lashing, here's like the 7th Denki attack, right? And they're all stunned, like the Ochako taco truck decks. I think that there was just like people embracing Faith Shield, embracing like the ability to acquire the 4 box of babies and get to that turn 5, 6, sort of format, sort of just not because we think that this is strictly better, but because now we have the tools to do so.
Correct. Yeah. Even though I'm not at Origins, I do have boots on the ground, obviously. I guess a lot of the provisionals, I should say, leading up to the regional as of Thursday. There's been like one provisional was like mostly Mei Hatsume, and
Of
a lot of
course.
which is crazy. Well, obviously she had such a really good showing at the regional with Garrett and Zach playing her, and to very good success. And I think that deck, like, there's one, maybe two or three cards that deal with assets. So usually your game plan is technically kind of safe.
And two of them are on May's symbols.
Yes, yeah, and it's just, and on the best one, I think people aren't really playing those symbols outside of maybe Ochako 2, because learning the standards flips it when she builds it. So
True.
And I think that that card's just going to see a spike in price. So get your copies while you can, because because asset hate's at a premium right now, and if she's going to be like the front runner for set 2, which it kind of seems like she is at the moment, you may want to get all that asset hate and store it for the set 2 format. And if it progresses this way, we'll have to see for Saturday how that regional shakes out and all that. But
and I think a big part of it too might be that how many copies of Frigid Heatwave and how many copies of Sugar Rush Power Up do you and your playgroup own?
Yeah, very
if I think the Mei Hatsumi, like Box of Babies might have been tough to get like 4 copies of, but they're way easier to get than 4 copies of Frigid Heatwave and way easier to get than 4 copies of Sugar Rush Power Up at the current moment. So I was expecting everyone to just be like, well, Tokoyami can just beat the brakes off anybody on any turn. And, I might sound, if I sound salty, I am just a little bit, but like I was getting absolutely destroyed by Sugar Rush Power Up in testing and the day of. In my testing, I told myself, well, they got to have it, right? Like they got to, it's not that they're going to draw it all the time every turn 2 kind of a thing, but, my loss to Tim Keefe involved a plus ultra it on a 6 or die 3 attack string, and the third attack is 19 damage because of Sugar Rush. So
Sugar Rush is pretty good. I bought that card. I was like, that card seems okay, but then I saw Tim use it, and not even for the damage pump, for the flipping of the damage reduction stuff, and that opens up a whole new avenue for that card, in my opinion. I'm going to admit, I slept on that card. I was just like, well, okay, it's cool. Like, I don't know if I'm going to play it, but I think you kind of just have to have it in your sideboard at minimum on those symbols, because damage reduction's at such a premium right now, and Spooky exists, and we know because of the stream, it got asked a million times, does it flip Spooky? And we all know, and for standard players, if it could possibly happen, it can. It counts.
And that's one of those rules that really was just on I've played the game before, I know how it works before, but I remember trying to find the exact verbiage in the rulebook that would make effects like that sort of work. And I'm glad that they've moved away from using the word would, because the could versus would thing was... That's something I glossed over. Like, it just didn't affect me, and I never even thought about it when I was learning to play the game. But as the days, went on, as the years go by, you kind of just can't keep explaining that to newer players, over and over without just kind of feeling like they should have changed the wording. So I wasn't 100% sure if that was going to stick around. Just like I wasn't 100% sure about, I think it's not Confused, but Fighting Spirit, the one that cancels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't 100% sure if Fighting Spirit was going to work exactly how we would assume it would work, overly dramatic ruling, but I think those are going to be carried over. I just don't know if it's going to be an issue where people are looking for it in the rules and they can't find it.
Yeah, true. Instead of being told, well, this is how it's always been, because a lot of people don't want to be told this is how it's always been. They want to be pointed to page 36, section A, paragraph 2 of the rule book,
Yeah.
They have to, so a lot of people who ask those questions go back to their play group and they tell them, well, I was told this is how it always is, or they didn't really give me a page or whatever. So we actually have, I don't know, I haven't really looked at the rule book because I'm not really a rules guy because I just ask people who are smarter
Yeah.
than me to tell me what the rules are. So
I wanted to be back when we had the old forum days and when I had first started playing, and my group was essentially like Shane Duckworth and four other people. It
mhm.
it was important to me to like be a rules guy because I'd been a nerd and a rules guy and like everything else I had done, because it didn't seem too difficult. The only thing that really got to me is that stuff actually have changed. Yeah, Huey Ludist is saying it also doesn't help that things have changed since UFS, and that's how it always was, doesn't always hold up. Even people who played UFS in 2009 would know that in 2015 the rules aren't the same as they were to 2018 and then to a whole new game/format. So,
Well,
the stuff that trips me up the most is things that have changed since I started playing.
yeah, very true. Well, because wasn't there a period where almost every tournament had a rule change before it? Like Nats had a rule change on how to play reversals, and then something else. I believe there was like a PTC, like the week of a PTC, they had changed some rules. So I'm glad that with this MHA format that we may be seeing, like we had the FAQ come out. We had, when set 2 was released, we had all the additions to the rule book, well, the living rules, I should say.
Mm,
And they were even highlighted in red, so all the changes were in red. So if something did change, you knew exactly like where to find it.
yeah. Yeah, they're
It was
definitely
almost
a
like you
lot
were looking
more.
at the. It was almost like you were looking at the Bible and Jesus was speaking. This had changed it in the gameth, you know.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely doing a lot better job. It's tough as an old head to see people complain, because old people complain because they're like, wow, they're not perfect yet, and you see new
Yeah,
people complain because they're not used to the old days, like how bad it used to be, if you want to put it
yeah,
that way. And I'm just stuck in the middle now, where I'm really trying not to be negative. Like, I feel like we've wanted to hold them accountable in the past,
yeah.
and they're starting to do so. So now it's my turn to um, to invigorate that. I want to encourage that behavior. I don't want to complain that it's not perfect yet. So it's definitely getting better. There is a few things that need to be worked on. We don't want to go down the judging hole, because if we get
Okay, we're
talking
already
about
on that.
judging, we're going to be here
My
all
my
night.
first inclination was shipping, but they're working on that, so that's cool. As long as they're working on it, whatever. So in my opinion, it's like, of course, like things can always be better, but to be
Hmm.
fair, everything can always be worse too. Just think, we could still be waiting on set 2 if they didn't fly it in. So that's I think that's just a huge change in the Jasco mindset. Is like they know that what they have is hot and they want to get everyone playing it because it is, I would say it's probably the hottest card game right now. I don't know what numbers are. I'm just, shooting out my ass, but it seems to me that the game is always growing. Like my play group has grown by like 5 or 6 people and we weren't even trying. So it's just, which is awesome. And we're a small group anyway, so any addition is fantastic. I'm hearing about big groups. Like there's more people playing the game now than in the 15 some odd year history that Jasco's had it, I think, or 10-year history, or however long they've had it.
Yeah.
There's just more people have their eyes on the game right now than ever before. And it's, we can be old heads that complain, oh, all these new kids taking up our top 8 spots, blah, 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 net decking and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, get off my lawn. And it's just like, I just don't care, man. More people, more eyes on the game means more money, means more cards, means more fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this is kind of like the sour take. But if the worst comes to worst, I don't have to be a competitive player. I don't have to go to tournaments. I don't have to deal with, basically any of these issues to enjoy the game. And I think that's the place I want to get to, because you can enjoy Magic the Gathering, the biggest card game, Pokemon. You can enjoy the big three and literally never go to or discuss competitive play with your friends.
Right.
You know, the the focus on competitive play is really cool, and we've always been really lucky that, the tight-knit community has made the competitive scene so rich and like actually enjoyable. But when people talk about the game growing and possibly breaking into that, atmosphere of one of the top 5, top 3 games, one of my biggest fears is that, well, then, you kind of do get splintered communities. You have like a competitive community, you have casual communities, and like, I think our casual community has always been a little spoiled because they're basically also our competitive community. And you might start to see the game grow to a point where things aren't as diverse as they are right now. And, I just want to make sure that there's a casual community who meets up weekly and plays all this stuff that I want to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like with the casual people, you kind of see that with. I have a few people who are not really complaining, but they're disgruntled about provisional promos and about how, because they don't webcam. They want to play in real life or whatever, and they're just like, it just really turns me off that there's these pay to win promos, and I go, dude, how many packs do you have at home? Because technically you've already paid for them with your packs, so you just ship them off and get these cards, and then they try to shoot back with, well, then I don't have to wait months for it. Well, I'm like, you still have an avenue for it. You shouldn't. I know it's the wrong way to say it, is that you shouldn't be complaining about it, but I guess if you want the cards soon, or than you sending in packs, you're paying either a premium for it, or you're playing in an event. Granted, it's a random chance, which I disagree with completely. I think that one should be guaranteed and the other one's random, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I just think that there's avenues to get the cards. Now, the casual players I don't know if they have a right to complain about the regional promos because they're alt arts, they're not unique cards, but if they want those, they should want to take the step into the regional and just play a few rounds and get your promos and go. Maybe they find out they like playing competitively, or shoot, there's the chance that you may not face someone for 3 rounds because they don't show up because all they want is promos,
Yeah. I think the original plan with the provisional promos, of course, was supposed to be that if you were playing in a store, if you had, regular organized play, then you would be able to collect them like that. Like, the fact that they're now behind like a $20 tournament that you have to play on webcam, and then you get like a grip full of them, that just seems like a compromise. And at the end of the day, there's really going to be a lot of compromise. And I'm with you when it comes to the shipping issues. I'm lucky that I'm in Vegas, I guess. I don't have to deal with it as bad, but like
very true.
But like shipping your packs in to get a card, if you have to wait a while for it and you're not a competitive person and you're not trying to play in these events anyway, then I don't really see what the issue happens to be, because your friends will let you proxy a price for piece at your casual local event because you've got the receipt that you're just waiting for them. And if they're not going to let you do that, then they're probably not your friend.
Exactly. And most people have a couple competitive players. I would say I shouldn't say most, but I would say the majority of play groups have a few competitive players in them, and they probably have these cards. You could probably ask to borrow them if they're cool enough to let you borrow them, because again, if they're not cool enough, they may not be your friends.
Yeah.
Or proxy. What are we playing for at locals? Plus ultra packs that you get like 1 million of at the end of by the end of the month, and booster packs. Locals isn't that big of a deal. They really shouldn't be sweaty unless like you all agree to test for like something and you agree to be sweaty and all that stuff,
right.
Which I'll get called out because I had a sweaty locals the other day. I brought all my 3 to test for a teams event on the Unfun Stuff channel, and I got called sweaty. I'm like, I got to test for teams. I told my team I'd test. So yeah, but I got called sweaty big time, and they're all making fun of me. He's like, oh, no sweaty locals, eh? And I'm like, I can't help it. I told my team I'd help them out.
Yeah, and when it comes down to it, I know that I just want to say that the idea of like a company having the official stance or comment that you should be borrowing from other people, of course, doesn't work. But at the same time, that's what's really cool about our community is that I've not really met people who have had an issue getting the cards that they need. And, obviously newer players coming in aren't going to have those kind of tight knit relationships. They probably won't feel comfortable asking, especially if they've never been in a card game community or come from, one that's not as, not as friendly or as tight knit. And so that's kind of I've heard people kind of go, oh, well, yeah, because you're an old head and you have friends and stuff like that. And it's like, man, I borrow cards from people I never met before because, I go through the community and I talk to people and I'm involved. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know Christopher Bromley before I borrowed $300, $200 worth of evil sideboard cards, from him. We had interacted a few times on Discord kind of a thing. So it's not... It's not because we're old. It's not because we've been around and we're popular. It's because the community is really cool, and if you put time into it, you actually will get something back.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Like I sent cards to Origins for Matt to use, and I sent them with Trent. And I was just like, hey, I have friends who need these, so take them with you and loan them out, but don't forget them because
Yeah, I definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. They're just concentrates, and I don't want to lose those.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. My packs haven't been counted yet at Jasco office, so I don't want to lose those. But,
yeah. And it's one of those things where if you're brand new and you're trying to be competitive, you probably don't need to have like a perfect deck, or if you're someone who wants to jump in and have the actual best deck, then you should expect to pay a premium if that's not obvious by any other card game in existence. The best decks, the best cards are going to fetch that premium price. So I think that the only thing is because they're unique game pieces, just like the Plus Ultra packs, I was very happy with the Plus Ultra pack volume of distribution. I think that they could have tweaked the numbers on the character cards to be less less common than the Plus Ultras themselves, right?
Yep.
But as far as how many packs I was able to get, how often you can get packs, I've been really happy with that. So if the provisional promos can be distributed, I think, like unique game pieces, I would say any unique game piece, any actual unique card can be distributed at the volume and at the play level that Plus Ultra packs are, that's really cool. If everything above that, if everything else can just be alt arts, can be like champion cards, like trophy cards, that I think would be the perfect sweet spot.
I agree completely. I also have a feeling that with real life IRL events happening more frequently, and the move away from what it looks like, I guess, with season 2, the move away from webcam, because we only have 2 webcam events scheduled. We may see more provisional scheduled, like regionally, instead of one in Toronto, one in Omaha. We may get 4 or 5 on a weekend, and that's just all in the same weekend across the country, like regionally. And then that will also spread the wealth, if you want to say, on the provisional cards, and people won't have to pay a premium if they want them really fast, or wait for redemption. But I guess if you want them really fast, you're going to pay a premium, and if you're not going to care, you're going to get them on redemption. So you have 3 or 4 avenues to get these cards, so there really shouldn't be an issue, I guess, in the long run, just as, I guess, COVID restrictions lighten up and more stores have more in-person events. And I also think that there's if I remember correctly, Ben Lambright told me that they're looking at the website, and if your store has an X amount of players for X amount of time, you will get more price support or upgraded price support. And I think this may also be data that if your store can handle these events so often or whatever, you may get a provisional or a store championship. Let's just call them that, because that's what they're originally supposed to be, or store championship. So,
yeah.
Which makes sense. Which kind of makes sense with having the unique cards being that level, and then everything else above it, like you said, as an alt art. Because I don't want to have to go to a regional or go to nationals and be like, well, this is the only way I'm going to get these cards. Is like, if they're unique, If they're unique cards, that feels kind of bad if you miss out on unique cards. But alt arts, if you get them, you get them. If you want them, you pay a premium for them. If you're not playing in the event, which has been shown with the prices of them, they're still like 60 to 70 up. From what I've seen last I looked. So.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, they had a bunch of the side events at the regional in Vegas. I don't know if you followed the buy sell trade group, but Nathan DeWalt's out there hustling with a flat stack of Reciproc Extend and long lasting explosions. So there's people out there who've got like 60 of these alt arts. They've got like these giant stacks of these cards from trading around from. Maybe buying. I don't know how they got them, but the point is that people who are going to these events, you don't have to win the event to end up with a playset of this stuff. You can go, you can play and have fun, you'll get your participation, and then you can play in multiple events over the weekend. So the player caps were a little rough for me. I actually missed out on all the side events. I was really excited because this is the first time in a long time I didn't make top 16, and it's the first time that they've really had side events for a Vegas event that I've been to. So I was excited. I was going to team with True Champion Steven and Tam. We were going to be team like, share, and subscribe or whatever. Team please subscribe.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I showed up. They're in the provisional. They call for the team sign up. There's a massive line, and only like half the people in line got to sign up. So, if anything, the game is at a point where like there's so many people that want to play. Like the natural choice has to be to expand. Has to be to have more of these events, more slots available, more cards available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. That's kind of funny that they're turning people away when before MHA we were just trying to grab whoever could play.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's just I think about it every now and then while I'm at work because I daydream a lot, and I'm just like, it's insane. It's just crazy how events have 200 plus people. We have online events with 500 plus people, and it's just crazy how the game has just, I guess for lack of a better word, exploded. But it just seems like we all knew, like all of us old heads know the game is good, right? Like it's all we know the game. It's the reason why we're playing, because if the game wasn't good, we'd be gone a long time ago. But
well, and the IP has shuffled around so much that like
exactly.
If you were a Mega Man fan, you're not playing the game nowadays because you like Mega Man anymore. The game hooked you, so like these IPs brought a lot of people in. I was 100% only grabbed my attention because of Terry Bogard from King of Fighters. That is, I was looking at random Pokemon cards and Magic cards. I was like, maybe I'll get a Pikachu while I'm here to put on my mantle. I was not playing any card games at the time. I was there to buy board games. And when I went, oh, hey, let me get this Terry for like $4 or $8, whatever it was, the guy's like, hey, do you want to learn to play? And I was blown away.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was at a Gen Con, and I'm a huge Darkstalkers fan, and I saw Morgan, and I'm just like, she's in a card game?
Hell
I'm
yeah.
Down. Hell yeah, let's go. And then, she didn't come out, her 10 didn't come out for like a year because of, production issues, but I still found my Shiranui from KOF 13, and I played the crap out of that character, so it was just like, hey, I found another person to play. So it's crazy because the game introduced me to a bunch of games I never even considered KOF. I never knew what KOF was before I played UFS. I knew of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and we had Mortal Kombat, and Cowboy Bebop was awesome, and it's just crazy that MHA itself has pulled in so many people, and it's like, well, what's after MHA? Is it Demon Slayer,
bro?
Is it JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
It needs to be Yu Yu Hakusho, like 1,000,000%.
It's gotta be, right? It's got. I want my Yoko Kurama, man,
bro.
I tell people I will jump back into Standard. If I get a Yoko Kurama, I will go buy a deck just to play that character and play in Standard. And I'm not the biggest, and I am no fan of Standard. I don't care. I will play him exclusively.
Yeah. So whenever they would talk about like, oh, it'd be cool if we had anime, and like,
yep.
The number one stuff that I remember coming up were people saying My Hero Academia because of what it was at the time, And I was always like, bro, it'd be dope if they had Cowboy Bebop, though, because it's the best anime, but we'll never get it. Like, all my comments were always like, yeah, we'll never get Cowboy Bebop, but it's the best anime. And so when they gave us Cowboy Bebop, my official answer was like, well, the only other like anime you'd have to have is Yu Yu Hakusho. And dead ass, those are the two we got first. So
Yeah. Yep.
as far as them picking animes I like, I can't complain. And I really wish that we just had more Cowboy Bebop content, and I wish we had more Yu Yu Hakusho cards. Like, I love the fighting game stuff, but I'm down for these two anime IPs more than just about anything else.
Yeah, I think that's the appeal of it, right? Like, anime has a much more broader audience than like the fighting game community.
Yeah.
I know I'm probably going to get roasted for it, but we all like fighting games to a point. But if you think about it, they're a business. They want to make money. And how do you do that? You get something that's going to draw millions of people. Granted, we don't have millions of people playing the game, but it's just the number I threw out. Like, anime will do that because a lot of people watch it. Some people don't like to tell people they watch it, but for the most part, everyone's pretty proud of what animes they like and their fandom of certain animes, right? And like, I wasn't a big My Hero fan. I didn't know anything about it, and then I started watching it, and I'm like, this is just the X-Men. This is awesome, because I saw in the comic book light, because I'm a huge comic book fan, and I'm just like, well, I'll watch an animated cartoon about the X-Men. That's awesome, and I think Trigun would be a good one for them to have, because if they like to pull back from like the 90s Toonami type era, you might as well just go full boat and get Trigun. You might as well get Outlaw Star. Come on, just do the whole do a Toonami block, Jasco.
Do a Toonami DLC series.
I would be down for that.
You could. So I was gonna say, if you had to pick like from a business side and from like your personal like what you think would be a good set. Like, so I'll say this, as much as I like Cowboy Bebop, one of the reasons I didn't think we would get it is because I didn't think that it would make a very good set. I thought that the challenges of getting the characters to feel like themselves mechanically from a flavor standpoint and blend into the system was going to be a little difficult. And if I'm being 100% honest, I don't think that's the most flavorful set they've put out. I think it's one of the lower, it's high mechanics, low flavor, low thematics. But if you had to pick what you thought was going to make the best card game set, like the most hype cards, like art-wise, ability-wise, whatever, versus what do you think the best business choice would be? What are the two anime, or I guess it could be the same one, but like what's the animes you're picking for your favorite, like personal favorite hype set and business set?
Okay. Personal favorite? Well, okay, let's go with business first. It's Dragon Ball Z, right? It's gotta be Dragon Ball.
Okay, well.
And that's business. But that's never going to happen because of Bandai.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, well, something that doesn't have its own card game already.
I would probably say, as of now, Demon Slayer. Because Demon Slayer, I mean, from my personal standpoint, I would say. Because the show is beautiful.
Okay.
I think they could, with they've proven with MHA that they can make thematic cards, because when you play these characters, you feel like you're actually playing that, like you are that character.
Yeah, when I play Kamui Woods, I feel like a total loser.
Hey man, he's only number 10 for a reason or something like that, right?
Dude, come on, he gets bitched around by Mount Lady. He's a fucking...
That's awesome. She's the best.
He's a loser. He's a simp.
I mean, he's not wrong. But yeah, okay, I get it. But like,
oh my god, I just realized who I'm talking to. Of course you would sympathize with Kamui Woods.
Mount Lady's awesome. I would say from a money standpoint, I would probably have to say also Demon Slayer, because it's one of the biggest animes around right now. I think I haven't really paid attention, but I would say Demon Slayer for both of them. But honestly, the real answer is Dragon Ball Z. That would rake in millions of dollars for Jasco, but that's never gonna happen. There was a hope at one point when they had the miniatures game. There was a hope.
Yeah, Man, yeah, it's hard to argue with Dragon Ball Z. It's crazy how much like staying power the brand has, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just because of how technique focused Dragon Ball Z is overall. And I don't want to go on like a rant because I know we got people who like both, and I know we got people who are coming over from like one community to the other. But I really was so disappointed with the like design of DBS cards. The naming conventions for it, like maybe there's translation issues, maybe it's it's not just for English people, right? Like I get that. So maybe there's something I'm missing, but like the thing that blew me away is that there's like a Goku in every color. And there's like 10 Gokus, and there's like Goku this, Goku that. There's Goku eating a cake, so he's weak Goku, and then there's Goku while he's, just fooling around, so he's slightly stronger, and like it was very weird to me. It was like if I wanted to pick up a card and it has Goku on it, it should I don't know, it should feel like important, and it should feel somewhat unique. It shouldn't feel like one of
It should feel like how Goku would feel in that, like as if you were him.
yeah, like they
It's not very thematic.
yeah. Like there's a Goku, it's like it's not like he's a kid, it's not like he's particularly weak, but it does nothing but search other Gokus. And it's just like the art is just like him talking to Whis, like it's a green one drop Goku. And like
Yeah, I know what you're talking.
yeah, and it just was first of all, I played the deck and I whiffed. I looked at top 7, I didn't find a fucking Goku.
Yeah, that happens.
So I might be biased. I might hate this because of that.
It's kind of the same thing as if you're going into a kill turn after your opponent's committed out and you just draw nothing but foundations. So it's kind of the same feeling.
Yeah. But so it just felt weird that I built a deck with, only like 10 possible bricks and I bricked 7 out of 10. But
that's rough, man.
Regretting those sensu beans, I don't know. Anyway, the point is that like to me like a Goku card like that should have some reason it's not a strong Goku attack, and like they're character cards, but they're also like named after like what they're doing, and they're supposed to represent like a specific attack, and they're just it all kind of jumbles together in my head. Like I want to play a card that says Kamehameha, and I want it to like do a Kamehameha thing. Does that make sense?
No, I totally agree with you because I know we shouldn't be ranting on old DBZ, but like the old score game, you would get to play Goku's Kamehameha or attack, or Android 18's Energy Blast or whatever, like Krillin's Energy Disc and all that stuff. So, but I think that's just the way card games are now, except for ours. They're just kind of, I'm probably going to get yelled at for this. They're kind of designed kind of blandly, where it's just like, I have 10,000 power. This thing has an effect. The art looks like this, so this is what its name's going to be. That's it.
Yeah,
they don't design it in flavor. Like they don't put, I don't know. It seems like MHA has a lot of what's the word, heart to it, where they really cared about the theme, about every character and how they are represented in the game. And that kind of reminds me of the old KOF sets, because the KOF sets felt like that too, like the block KOF, Mega Man, and Darkstalkers from Standard. And I always reference this when I talk to the guys at Jasco, when I chit chat with my friends, and I'm just like, dude, this feels like the golden age of UFS. Honestly, my UFS career wasn't very long, but that was the block I started in, and I guess it's kind of like you always know your first love, and that block was awesome, and it just feels like they're pulling from that. It has like a lot of heart and a lot of feeling with it.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me because that was when I started playing too. That was like the first cards I played with, and I don't know MHA very well, and I've been playing the game for a while, so it's like completely opposite worlds. I watched like the first season of MHA, and so when I was playing the KOF characters and I played their cards, especially with them, I would see the fighting game terminology, right? Like the fighting game mechanics that I like to see represented. Like, it's really easy to just like talk about, I can play a Terry Bogard has like a punch and then he has a combo punch. And I could be like, oh, well, in KOF 13, you can actually do that sequence. You can actually cancel, a power wave into something else, right? So that's not really what I mean when I say this, but like I could actually see the different strings, like the different combos play out beneficially that I was used to doing in KOF 13 in the card game. And that's kind of like easy to translate in the sense that those moves are specifically designed to work in a fighting game. They're like designed to chain and combo together. But if you watch someone do Kim Kafwan combos in KOF 13, if you watch like pro players play Kim Kafwan, they fucking build a shitload of meter and they do the same 2 attacks over and over again.
And that's exactly what he did in the card game.
You
build a bunch of foundations and then you just kill your opponent with the same 2 attacks over and over again.
Yeah, and to me, the biggest thing was, to me, your foundation count represents your spacing on the board. Or your spacing on the stage, I guess. So, like, fighting games well enough to know it's usually bad to be in the corner. So when you're stunned out, when you don't have foundations, you're pushed to the corner. You're in, like, a worse position, but you're not unable to do anything. You just are very limited in what you can do. And so watching characters like Terry Bogard, who doesn't care if you're tapped out, who doesn't care if you're, pinned in a corner, versus characters like Kim, who it was super important that you had the right thing set up. Like, usually he's an anchor, so he's got maximum meter. He's got moves that push people through the air into the corner, stuff like that. Like, all of that translated so beautifully to me. And I've always been upset that it seems like that's never come back, like, full swing. I've never seen anything that, like, really had the chance to represent it, because even the Street Fighter set is not based on a specific Street Fighter game. It's clearly Street Fighter 4 art, but it's got like the roster of Street Fighter 2. It's got like moves that aren't in Street Fighter 2, but also moves that aren't in Street Fighter 4 anymore. So there was never that opportunity to get that again. And I've heard from people that the My Hero sets are really good and really flavorful. So I'm really glad about that. I just, I wish I could see it. Like, I wish I could relive that experience of going, man, this character plays exactly like they did in the video game.
Sure. Is it more along the lines of that maybe you're not as into the show as I would say a lot of the people who are playing, or you just haven't had the chance to watch a lot of the show? It could be that, because I'm caught up to the whatever it is, and like I see a whole lot of, well, this is how this character would fight, or granted it's just like, well, look take Bakugo for instance. That dude's all over the place, and he does the zone change thing, and he's like, well, not the zone change thing. He's like, well, if I play this, I do this. If I do this, I do that, and that's kind of signifying that his aerial maneuvers, in a way, like,
yeah,
he can move in space really easily, so you have no idea what angle he's going to attack from, and he's always pissed off and he's always angry, so that's the whole fear aspect of it. And it's just he's a very, very just in your face damage type of character, and I think that translates pretty well to at least his kit, in my opinion.
I think they nailed the attitudes, like, because I can get the attitude from the character without like following the show, right?
Yeah. Very true.
So I definitely think that like all the characters, they match their attitude specifically, or there's like something sort of obvious about their game plan, that translates. So I can definitely say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. It's kind of cool that when I used to play UFS after a long weekend of playing, I'm just like, man, I need a break. But like it's just like, man, I'm ready to play some more. It's just, I don't know why. The game feels super fresh for some reason, and granted, it's the same system we've played for years, but it's just kind of a new coat of paint, and it's just more, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but it's a lot more fun.
I think the biggest thing... Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I just think it's a lot more fun, and I don't know why I think that, even though I had fun back in standard with certain characters.
The biggest thing I've picked up on, because I was upset early and I was like, it's a set one problem. I was upset a little early because I felt very restricted and things were very samey. Because it was a lot of the same attacks, it's a lot of the same foundations, because there's just not a lot of cards, right?
Yep. Totally.
And the thing I've realized with set 2 is I get a lot of the same old BS like feeling that I did with standard. The difference, I think, is that the cards aren't quite as interchangeable. Like in standard, you kind of have like a character that can say, if I play 4 of any attack, I put stats on it and then I win. Like a Cassandra's, like it doesn't matter if it's actually Shield Big Bang. Shield Big Bang is just the easiest one to play 5 times and put +5/+5 or +3/+3, whatever she's doing to it on every attack. And I think while it's still possible to get absolutely just blown out and absolutely smoked by really good offensive hands, I think that it matters which attacks they are more often now. Like, I don't think Froppy's turn 2ing you if she doesn't have Tongue Whip and or Frog Lashing.
Correct. Yeah. I was chatting with Church, and I was just like, I actually think that, because you brought up the format kind of slowing down, and I actually think that with more cards, people are going to experiment a little more and not just play, well, this is the 50 best cards in set 1 on this symbol, so I'm playing this. So now there's more card availability, and so that may tweak a lot of people's builds to where maybe it's, I don't want to say suboptimal, because obviously you always want to play the most optimal cards, but they interact with set 1 cards a little differently just to change it just a little bit. And obviously there's always tech pieces in every set that's after a set. Sometimes it seems like that's their pattern, where they come out with something and then they have the answer in the next set, or something that's checked against it, which kind of, I don't know why. I don't know if every card game does that, but it just seems kind of counterproductive, because wouldn't you want to have the answer in the same set of something that you're going to put out that you think it's not a problem, but you always want to try to have you were trying to have like answers and counters, I guess.
Well,
you want to have counters to what you're putting out in the same set, but I have no idea. I'm not a set designer.
The idea is that you want people to have fun with that card and use it and see if it's really good, and then present the answer to it so they can't use it forever. If you take it to the extreme on a power scale, that's just power creep, and you got to buy the new cards because they're better, and if you buy, than playing the old cards. I do get why they do it. I don't like it either. I think it's kind of silly too. My biggest issue is when there's an issue on a card and they're like, there's a problem coming, don't worry, but the problem shares a symbol with the problem card, so just that deck gets to like defend against itself anyway. Yeah. I'm like terrified that Sports Festival Stadium is gonna make the game revolve around water decks and decks that can blow up water decks on turn 2, because you now can't face shield on the first attack anymore. You can't face shield until you get through a Sports Festival Stadium. Yeah, and true. The biggest truth is that not too many decks are going to have access to 2 good blocks. You know what I mean? Like 2 special blocks, I guess you could say, 2 block responses. So like if you have 1 breaker in your hand and they're sitting on a sports festival, you don't want to let them draw that card, Like it just kind of, I just wish it didn't have water of all symbols.
True. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I also think that there may be more asset hate coming eventually, because, granted, you have learning the standards, you have, wire arrow that can govern someone's momentum. And,
who's got asset hate?
Who am I missing?
The water symbol.
Oh, God, stop it. Oh, that's right. They have irrefutable. Oh, well, I guess you could irrefutable it.
Yeah, you'd have to remove the irrefutable, the Momo and May assets. But You can irrefutable sports festival stadium, so we're just water decks fighting water decks again.
Jesus, no, I'm tired of water getting stuff. Stop it, Jasco. Stop it. Stop giving water everything. You
Yeah,
know,
at least this one's a terrain, so you can fight over who can control it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's true. I know a lot of people were just like, well, maybe like it's a decent 1x, but do you think like since it's the only terrain, people are just gonna start packing a copy of it in their deck if they have those symbols just so they can control the effect? I don't think so.
No, I think they're gonna pack it because the effect is insane.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah.
If you block my attack, I get to draw a card is already like something I'm willing to clear your card pool with. And
Oh yeah, true.
if I'm not willing to clear your card pool to draw a card, you're in trouble. Like that's a tell, you know?
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal.
So, maybe I'm waiting for a face shield or a breaker later, but like if I'm not drawing cards off your first two or three blocks, you got to assume I got the gas. So it allows for a cool mind game. It protects you from, most of the defense. I'd say like the best defense is block based responses still with breaker and faith shield. And what's the May one that has stun too? There's like the
Oh yeah, net gun surprise. That card's
net gun
awesome.
surprise, yeah. So net gun is also like something you can just discard and they don't get to use. So yeah, I think you just play it because even though it buffs all attacks by like 1 damage, if you're a water deck, you're blocking everything.
Very true. Yeah.
You have wall cling, you have faith shield, and I think it's gonna be water decks fighting over it, and then they'll lose to like Tokoyami, who just sugar rushes them turn 2 anyway.
It's probably very accurate. Yeah. There may be some other things out there that could do stuff. I mean,
Fire also
like
gets
fire.
irrefutable, so
If fire gets irrefutable, fire also can knock them. You can also play Searing Glacial and knock them down to 5 foundation, stun them out, and kill them. So that's also a thing.
ooh,
So,
true. If you're
so
playing
like,
like Todoroki or something like a
yeah,
nerd.
if you're playing any of those symbols, and you have the order symbol on your character, you can just blow
Yeah.
up all the foundations, stun them out. Like yeah, Shoto would be the best on it because he gets stunned too for free in stats. So, um, but
Yep. That's a card I think is gonna be more and more relevant if people keep trying to play like these Garrett Brett style life walls.
very true. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, one of our chatters mentioned erase. Like that's kind of the issue, right? Is like we don't want to have this one time removal that's not permanent. Like erasing a box full of babies feels so bad.
You lose on that trade. You
Yeah.
definitely lose on that trade.
Sometimes it's a call you might have to make, and there's definitely like I'd erase it to draw 2 cards if I had to like use that response for whatever reason on eraser, like where we're at, like before she draws. But man, like there's just no passive permanent answers to assets. Even one of them that is like a quote unquote permanent gives your opponent a momentum for it, and you pay 2 life. Like I'm using that in my own asset more than anything.
Yeah. I would really like to see some sort of asset hate, but not like I would actually. I don't know if I want it generic, where it's in triple infinity, so everybody has access to it. But something, I think something should hopefully be coming down the line. We're hoping, hopefully, Jasco set 3 or promos, please, please.
I think all they'd have to do is start including foundation or asset on cards like
Yeah.
Blue Flame Spiral.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
having an Evil Gaze that can hit assets as well would be sick. Like just
That would be
stuff
cool.
similar.
I would also like to see random draw hate that's not like desperate times, like something that can cancel
Oh,
draw. Something that
dude.
can cancel draw.
Don't get me
That would-
started on punishment that isn't a cancel.
Okay, fine. I want to cancel. I
Yeah.
would love a cancel.
I
It's
just-
caught red-handed could come back any minute, and I'd be happy with that. That's fine.
Yeah,
Obviously, you would
1000%.
probably say non-character ability on it because that seems to be the thing that they want to keep characters safe outside of a race. I would assume it looks like, or blood curdle where you have to commit your character, but interacting with characters seem pretty few and far between in the MHA format. So I could see something like a caught red-handed coming back that says due to your non-character ability.
Yeah, I think if they're gonna do a character cancel, it'll be like a R remove cancel a character, a
Or
ability played on a character. Like
I mean, like,
it'll be specific to those to keep that
yeah,
bridge separate. As far as like the whole, like the worst one is discard, and the second one is drawing cards. And the fact that it's just based around hand size is probably like important, but like I cannot stand when a card says after your opponent makes you discard a card, draw a random card, because 9 times out of 10, I would rather just cancel it, and they won't print that. And then on top of that, if my opponent is willing to draw cards into desperate times, like I have
then you're in trouble.
such a huge problem, right?
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Some symbols are just immune to it anyway because you play it can't be fixed. So
Yep.
like I was down to draw cards left, right, and center playing All Might 3 because anyone who was playing Desperate Times was usually giving me foundations.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I don't know if you saw the top 16 match that was streamed from Provisional 1, but I had lethal exactly because Clinton Thomas shock treatmented my You're So Obvious, and I had two committed It Can't Be Fixed, and I built two foundations. I got the basically +1 resource. That was exactly what I needed to guarantee my check. So, like, I
Fantastic.
don't want to play Desperate Times roughly a third of my matches.
Mm-hmm. Because like that's the staple on those. Like they're everyone plays that card. Everyone plays It Can't Be Fixed because it's anti-stun. Like I was playing a game on Wednesday, and I had 4 of them out, and a dude he was playing Jiro and had Electric Jolt in his momentum face up, and I
Mm-hmm.
go. He actually contemplated flipping it over. I'm like, you really want to give me 4 foundations, please?
Yeah.
Like, please give me
Have
4 foundations. He
you
didn't
ever
though
seen?
because he. So, but yeah. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say, have you ever seen someone Desperate Times during a recipro burst, and they're like, "Cool, I'll commit gotcha and just get more speed into image."
Oh, neat. No, I've
It,
never seen that. That's
I
hilarious.
I saw someone flip triple Desperate Time into quadruple gotcha. Like they're
Wow.
they're like, please make me commit more, like it, because it was the first attack. It was like Ida response, do the thing, and then they flipped all that, and they're like, oh wow, now I don't need EX. You're just gonna die, like
You're just dead anyways.
yeah, like it was so weird. It was, but that's what I'm saying. And those are really rare. I'm not saying that's like a common thing where your Desperate Times is always bad. And I'm sure Daniel Nelson will stick up for that card back in certain formats it was played in. Back in like
Yeah.
pre plus ultra pack cards. Shit like that. But I just want a cancel. Just let me stop my opponent from doing shit because they can always play around it. Like Amphibious plays around Desperate Times. Someone with style plays around it. All the commit hate plays around it. Like
Yep.
I, those interactions are cool, and it's on a 0 diff, but also give me a 2 diff that actually helps me.
Yep. Oh yeah. Give me a 2 dip that says flip when your opponent draws a card due to their non-character effect. Cancel it.
Oh
I'm cool
man,
with that. Because
do you?
I think that's the one thing in the format. I mean, it was still prevalent in set one format, and everybody played attacks or had effects that as they were attacking, they were drawing cards or netting cards back into their hand.
Yeah.
Because that was a really big. I think that was like, if you looked at the meta decks, a lot of them replenished their hand as they attacked or defended in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that how it's how you win because you can use the overwhelm format as another you could overwhelm your opponent and with a giant attack or with a giant string where they run out of cards but you were drawing a card or whatever. But
Wheel and Steel.
oh gosh, yes, for us old heads, wheel and steel format, you gotta love it.
Yeah. And see, the biggest thing about cancels to me is the big thing that Caught Red Hand was really good about was it didn't just like it wasn't about stopping your opponent from drawing cards all the time, which was really strong. It was the fact that it canceled the whole effect. Therefore, it was like really important to stopping things like Trinity Geyser. It was really important to stopping things like Templar, which would gain your opponent life, and sometimes that was like the important part, like drawing cards was tacked onto almost every vitality gain ability for a while,
Yeah.
and it was yeah, and it was tacked on to a lot of damage and speed pump abilities. And so I really like that kind of thing where you can actually like shadow nerf an ability by putting draw one card on it if a card like Caught Red-Handed exists.
Yep. I would like to. I was thinking about it. I was talking to some friends at locals, and I was like, they could probably pull reprints and older cards from like the older sets and just tweak them just a little bit to fit in the format,
Mm-hmm.
like a Caught Red-Handed or or like a Dust in the Wind or something like that. It's like a Dust in the Wind would be fantastic with all the set one format, I guess, with plus ultra speed going all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, cool, negative 20 speed, sick. How's your reciprocal burst now? But I guess we kind of got that in Specialist to Sound in a way. It's like it's -3 on play instead of waiting for a bonus or whatever. So, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of older cards I'd love to see come back. But maybe we see them, maybe we don't. And set 2 cards aren't bad. I mean, we're still in the fresh set 2 format. So still have to see what shakes out from that.
Yeah, well, definitely, we have plenty of time to get back to certain power levels. That's definitely not what I'm in a rush for. I'm 100% here for Clark Sunglasses. I would love to see cards like Clark Sunglasses come back because, those are that's the quote-unquote punishment effect I'm down for, because it's like a really broad kind of a thing, and it plays into a general play style. It has technically a symmetrical effect. You have to commit one, they have to commit one to do it. But because you can play around with that expectation with cards like Gotcha, I love little mini games like that. I love when I can refund my cost and my opponent has to suffer that same effect. So that stuff would be really cool. But when it comes to specific narrow effects, I really need my response to have a game altering ability for it. I'm not even a big fan of I think it's a box topper. What's the aiming for number 1? Have you put that in any decks yet?
Oh, that's an ultra rare from the set 2, and no, I put it in a deck and then immediately took it out because I was like, well, it's bad.
Right. It's not giving me information I can use. It's not giving me effects that most of these characters in set 2 can really capitalize on. I've never felt that bad discarding a card to its effect, and I've never played around my opponent drawing more cards from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And considering that most of my decks draw a lot of cards anyways, I don't care if they draw cards or they can discard cards from my hand, because sometimes we have answers to discard and sometimes we don't. I was playing against a dude and I was popping Taiyaki for the Deadlock in hands, and I'm just like, wow, this really does nothing because you still have 8 million things to draw cards with on board.
Yep.
It's I should just save it to cancel those draw effects, even though I don't know if it matters because I'm going to die anyways because you have 10 attacks in hand or some shit like that.
And I'm a coward. I run into this issue a lot where I have this effect on my board, but if I use it, I have one less foundation to block with. And so actually losing resource count for a defensive or a responsive effect is really tough to justify. And I think we saw the emergence of the flip cost over Bebop format plus. Everything after Bebop is committing cards is to play cards, not for their cost. E-commits went out the window. Dust in the Wind rotated and a response commit could not be found. I mean, Damnation was getting questionable looks from people because it commits itself instead of flipping itself, and you just need to live one more turn in that format. So, That would be something I would love to see more, as like a commit that feels worthwhile. But right now, every time I use that response, I feel bad because I lose a foundation. Every time my opponent plays it, I feel good because I already knew that that effect was possible, and I'm glad that they have one less foundation now.
Yeah, I like, I primarily like, yeah, I use Taiyaki if I'm gonna die. Like honestly, like why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But it's really a boon on the offensive side of your board because your opponent is sitting behind an 8 ball. I guess
Mm-hmm.
it feels the same way when your opponent's attacking it and they have one against you, but and vice versa. But especially like if you have Swift and what was it, a small and limber? I always call it Swift and nimble, but
Swift
small and
and I
limber,
do too.
like it works. It's the same thing, right?
It's not even the same effect at all.
No, it's not. But I like the name better. But
Oh,
anywho,
fair
uh,
enough.
but it's like cool. I can commit these small limbers for effects or passing checks. But one minute they try to do something defensively, my board readies, and then I'm just gonna kill them anyway. So in a way, you're kind of getting back that one foundation you're losing,
Right.
if that makes sense, by readying cards. And that's a whole point of, I guess, playing the card is because, hey, look, I can get +1/+1 on these attacks, but the real power is, hey, look, I extended my turn by 3 foundation. I'm gonna kill you now.
I'm such a greedy player. I actually almost never use the +1/+1.
The same. I barely ever. I only use it if I'm really calculating the like lethal. If it
Yeah.
only matters if it comes into lethal. Otherwise, I just like, I'll tap this to ready
Yeah.
it
It's
after I
like
throw my.
it's like 100% in the deck to refund my draw 2 in All Might.
Oh, dude, yeah, I use that too. Yep.
That is, I actually have really liked Air All Might in set 2. I think
Cool.
Mentor Legacy Punch is sick. I think
Okay.
that playing 2 checks is okay on the Air symbol, and especially in All Might, who can like afford to play a bunch of zeros and
Hmm.
commit them with like a release out. Release
Yep.
with All Might feels amazing, actually.
Bet it. I bet it. See, that's another card that works with, you know, small and limber because you just pop a foundation that you can't ready and they ready anyways. So it's like, yeah, air. I was thinking about it and I was trying to like at the beginning of the podcast where I wanted to make a video on it and I'm like, man, I don't think air has any like on-demand destroy. And then I'm like, I'm an idiot. They have release, you know. And
Yeah.
it's just like you can because at the Omaha provisional and I was facing Sean for our win in, he was destroying releases on his turn. So he would one not get into he wouldn't get into deadlock that way. Granted, playing into a good deck in set 1 format, all you have to worry about is pull no punches that didn't have anything else,
Yeah,
um,
basically.
which was kind of poopy at the time. Um, but yeah, he was destroying his own foundations, and I'm just like, man, I'm an idiot. I couldn't believe just think if like that card was in set 1, and we had that card back then, which is kind of weird. Back then, with set 1 format was only like a month and a half ago. Um,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
wild.
it's almost like night and day. It just feels like, well, because set 1 format was what, like November till like late May, in a way, and
Hmm.
technically OP didn't start until like February, so really it was February to May in a way. So I don't know. It is. I had some arguments with people, not arguments, but discussions about, well, set 1 format was like 7 months, and I'm like,
Brother.
technically it was only 3 months, man. It's like calm down.
Yeah, it. Well, I would say it was 7 months personally, but that's just because it's 7 months of playing with just those cards.
Yeah,
And
very
again,
true.
I am actually not like, I'm just not competitive first. I'm not I'm not really like a spike player at heart. So like to me, I just want new cards, man. Like I actually I actually like rapid ban lists. I don't really care about investing in my cards, and I do
Sure.
think it sucks. Like I was offended by the Princess Parry ban. I don't know if you were caring about the game at that time or
No,
have any.
I wasn't, but I
Uh,
heard about it.
yeah, so like that one just seemed kind of weird, but I get it. Like it was very like split decision for me. But
Sure.
so I am normally very cool with bans. Like, I want new formats. I want to shake things up. I want side events with special rules. You know, give me as many different ways to play as possible.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I actually don't mind bans. I don't. I play cards to play cards, and if certain cards get banned, big whoop de doo, they sit in my binder. I'm not worried about reselling on the secondary market. Or I think change is good for the long run and for the health of the game, because you don't want, like, take coordinated effort. You know, whatever side of the fence you were on that one. That, you know, it create it, and Kirishima too, for you know, for the most part. After those two cards were either changed or banned, like, the format just went and opened up. Like, it was just like a whole new game all over again. It was just like, I could try this fun deck out without feeling bad half the time. You know?
Yeah. I felt so.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was so proud that, like, in the community, everybody, you know, like, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but I was super proud that, like, even though a lot of people were like, oh, well, if you ban Kirishima, then the next boogeyman, Jiro, comes out and everyone will just be playing Jiro, and then the slippery slope will happen. And, like, that didn't happen at all. None of that was true. Jiro's still fine. She's still strong, you know, but it didn't come true. We didn't devolve into just another one deck format. So, you know, it's been very cool to see. We have stuck to pretty much 7-handers in the format, but you know, well,
yeah, 7-handers are very strong. We kind of after the Kirishima thing, it took a while, but people started coming around on the frog, which is kind of weird because people slept on the frog for a while. I felt, you know, especially like once DLC came out, it totally turned the deck around in a way. Like, she had a kill card in lashing, but she didn't have, like, a setup card like in whip, which also kills you to just almost as much as lashing does. So, but I think the set 2 format doesn't really start until we get those DLC cards in our hand, in a way, because same thing as in when DLC 1 came out, I was on the fence. Like, I was like, man, this format sucks. It's just like so samey. Like you said, to copy you, like, every deck, I'm going to build a deck. I'm going to build a good deck. Wow, if I'm not playing Jiro, I'm playing Punches. This is boring. You know, it's like any air deck was a charge deck. You know, it's just, Jesus. It's just, I get there needs to be, like, some tribalism in the game, just so people who aren't as good, I guess, deck builders can be like, well, these all have the same keyword on them, so I'm going to cram them together and put them in a deck, you know?
Right.
But once the DLC 2 came out, the DLC 1 came out, it was just like, holy crap, like, the format has changed yet again, you know? It was awesome. So I'm kind of hoping DLC 2, I mean, the format's fine. It's just, you get even more options with, you know, you get more cards. And like you said, we're card gamers at heart. We want more cards to play with. We don't want to sit on the same stuff for 8 to 9 months pre-MHA, you know, where there were times where Jasco couldn't put a set out for months or a year. Right. And we were just like, give us more cards, man. Give us more cards. That's all we want. We want to give you money for cards. It's not a bad exchange in your pocket, you know?
Right. And, you know, for that first format, especially pre-Tongue Whip, I think this was just after Tongue Whip, but it was definitely in leading up to Provisional 1. I had played almost nothing except Froppy, except also we won. And I was testing with Christopher Bromley, and he was playing Void Kirishima. But he wasn't playing kicks, he was playing mostly the throw grindy lineup. And, like, I just remember it got to a point where even if I drew 2 attacks with Frigid Heatwave, and I had 9 attacks in my hand, he's at like 25 life still. I cannot kill him because he has 4 cards in his hand. He's got more foundations than me, and he can block 6 of my 9 attacks and give minus like 4, you know, minus damage on the others, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was the kind of thing where I was that's the main reason I played All Might, because I just didn't want to play Kirishima, and I still sided him. And that was, I never downplayed Sue, and I spoke her way up, and I didn't put Kirishima super high on my tier list because I was used to playing Kirishimas who would brick, and that those before the mulligan rules changed, they would brick, have bad early turns, and I could actually get on them. But playtesting against Bromley and seeing that Sue just had no offense into that deck and got punished so hard by coordinated effort. I dropped off her bandwagon for a minute real quick, but as soon as the Kirishima changes happened, I was posting everywhere that Sue's number one.
Yeah, I remember you saying stuff in Discord about that.
I ran my mouth a lot on that one. I was posting screenshots of my tier list where she's number one, saying don't act like nobody knew.
I want to say the UA guys. I want to say when they did their tier lists, I think one of them had Kirishima in the B to C tier. There's he's not that good,
I had him B tier.
Did you really? Okay.
I had him. I think high B tier, but part of it was for a meme. Part of it was because I'm stupid, and part of it's because of the mulligan rules. But
he definitely changed when the mulligan rules changed completely.
Yeah,
that was a big thing because he got to go look for his card.
When people were 15 out of 50 cards, that's almost a full third. When you got to go through a third of your deck to get your, one of your 4 copies of coordinated effort, that changed a whole lot of power level assumptions for that deck, I think. And especially, based around the power of coordinated effort versus running 2 checks like tape swing, I think that mattered a lot for Broberg going to the kicks lineup. I could probably just ask him himself, he probably said it at some point how important that was. But for me, the biggest thing was there's a clip in the English dub where Kirishima straight up just looks at the ground and he's like, I'm not as strong as you guys. I'm just a B+ player. And being a wrestling fan, I was like, bro, I have to put that in the video.
That's awesome, dude. That's hilarious. That's so funny.
Yeah, so that was part of why I put him in B tier.
Fun, dude. What's kind of hilarious is that a lot of people like that character a lot, and he's really kind of, like he said in the show, a B+ player. He doesn't do anything flashy. He's just kind of solid, right? And
yeah,
it's really funny that he has a huge following because I don't know, people think he's awesome, and I think he's a cool character. I'm glad that he's getting a version 2, so people who like him as a character, as their favorite character, get to play him, which is great.
His 2-dot's pretty good. I don't know if it's nutty over the top, but it's pretty close.
I think he's really good because he's going to be able to leverage the build the card from your hand and draw twice a turn, and I think you just try to find a way to leverage that with cards that back alley haymaker, or what's the overhead reversal throw, or whatever the overhead reverse throw is, where it brings it in committed.
Yeah,
you blow that up to ready it basically from a card from your hand, and you draw. And granted, it's a random card off the top of your deck you're drawing. You're not actually sculpting your draws, but like you are with 1-dot. But
it's okay. You start out as a 6-hander.
Yeah, and then he gets to tank and attack every turn.
Yeah,
I think that's neat. I think that part of him is the real flavor, if we want to say, in a way, because that's what he does. He tanks things. He's a tank, for lack of an MMO term, for a JRPG. He's our tank.
Yeah,
he's taking all the damage.
It's super interesting because I think that, I don't know if it was card design or the way the game mechanics work or whatever, but it's hard for me to look at his response and feel really good about it when this game has been so often an all or nothing kind of a game. Would you rather have his response or Ectoplasm's ability? One of them you're supposed to take no damage, but you might possibly actually still take half if it's a throw, right? So there's little wrinkles to it, but I really wish that I didn't feel so compelled to play super regeneration with him.
Yeah.
Just because in my mind I want to use his response and end up with bonus life.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be neat. Yeah. And then, like, because off the Earth symbol, you can also play things to unflip it, and and you get to play a lot of cool. I think it's gonna be a really neat, like, control-y deck with like
Mm-hmm.
apathetics and other cards that flip stuff on your opponents. Like, was it the Bakugo 05 that makes your opponent flip a ready foundation? And he gets to play Finishing Blast, pretty cool. He's also probably the best Howitzer Impact character because he destroys a foundation every attack. So he gets to play those on 4s all the time, and he's throwing 2 damage on it, which is kind of cool.
True.
That's off of fire, I guess. He gets to do some neat things, I think. I think all of the characters in DLC to Sad Face for Yamato get to do some cool stuff. I don't think Ayama's in the good spot right now, but maybe down the line. Maybe he gets some cool cards, but...
He's got one thing that really fucks me up about him.
Yeah, what's that?
Why does he have to pay a life for 1 speed?
I know, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Like, his tummy hurts, I get that, but, like, you're using the same thing to represent his tummy hurting as you do Toga's bloodlust. You know what I mean? Like, thematically, whatever, I don't think it fits. And then power-wise, you just look at Toga's speed pump and you look at Aoyama 2's speed pump, and they're just not the same. You look at their second ability that complements the first ability, and Toga's does an amazing job, and
his doesn't.
His just straight up doesn't. And then, of course, like, he just has like 3 restrictions on 2 abilities that I feel like could have no restrictions and he'd be fine.
Mm-hmm. So maybe down the line we get more support for that type of play, like the all mid attack, cut yourself for speed type thing. But
he counters Mineta too, technically, which is neat.
Yeah, I like his attack a lot. His attack is really good. Giving a random attack powerful 3 for nothing. Not bad.
It's
Even
not terrible.
5 diff, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like there's but see, that goes back to like the idea of your game living and dying not by your competitive play, because if we're just evaluating everything by competitive standpoint, it's not super impressive, but I absolutely guarantee you Aoyama 2 can play Wealthy Aspirations and dunk your ass.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right? Yeah, you're right.
Like, so in that respect, like, +3 damage, which I still think is once per turn, but whatever. But +3 damage and +1 momentum, there's a lot of stuff you can do. It's just, you look at a deck like Ochako 1, which is just doing that better.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, like we said, that may be, what is it, a Jimmy deck or a Timmy deck, or whatever. I don't know I know Spike and Timmy. I think it's Jimmy is the bottom one, right?
Jimmy or Johnny. I hear them both. It's typically Timmy likes to play big stuff, like the cards that little kids like. Spike likes to play good cards and he likes to win. And then Johnny or Jimmy just likes to play like combo decks. So those are like your typical adult casuals.
So maybe it's more of a Timmy type character where they get to play neat things, or again, not every character needs to be a world beater, because if we did, then we'd have Bebop problem all over again.
Right. Or Street Fighter versus Darkstalkers, which was the worst. That was the worst instance of that, I think.
Yeah.
Because all of those characters stayed relevant as long as you could meet whatever criteria they had. Like, for Akuma, it was your attack has to say ignores face downs. For Lord Raptor, it just had to say flash or destroy something, Yeah. All those characters were just sick as long as you met the not a real condition, whereas Aoyama 2 has multiple.
Yep. Yeah, he has actual conditions that aren't really good at this moment in time. There may be something like you would think that he wants to put stuff into his card pool, so you think he may be able to find stuff like off of Mina too, but in a way they kind of don't mesh, because she wants stuff that's face down and he puts stuff on face up. and all that.
That's the biggest thing for me. Whenever I see a character who wants to have foundations in their card pool, the thing that I always get jammed up on, or like the thing that always kind of hurts, is that face down foundations can't be used in those characters. They'll go up into the card pool and they cease to be foundations.
Yeah. Because I guess like if they had like the old Sasha thing where they could commit foundations in their card pool as
Oh God.
Yeah, that'd make Mina too broken.
Can we please never try that again? Because that is a rules nightmare.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, because I think she could use them, but when you built them, they came down committed.
Yes.
So she would normally build a few, pass a few, play an attack at the end, and use a couple, and then have a few foundations ready. It was just a really weird character.
Yeah.
It was a box topper, I think, for Red Horizon, or no, it was a box topper for Tides
Tides of
starter
Vengeance.
deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a weird character, so I don't want them ever to do that because I think that's just was it a can of worms?
Well, I believe, yeah, but I believe under the current rule set, cards in your card pool can't even be committed. So,
okay,
that would be like one of those golden rule things, and then there's implications of like, well, what's a committed card, So I just don't want to deal with that. We already have like cards that say flip one card, and it's like, okay, well, it doesn't say it has to be in your stage. So we have to deal with that,
Or discard one card, and people are asking, can I just discard a card from my card pool or from my stage?
Right.
Basically, as we all know, as older players and players who played long, and it says discard that doesn't specify from a location, it's always from your hand. So,
right. And that is covered in the rules. But a character that you might have missed was Astaroth 2, the 5-hander. Okay. He just says flip one of your opponent's cards with difficulty X or less. And there was like, for a while, I think we were playing it, that he could flip cards in your card pool and they like errataed or ruled against it, but he wasn't super popular. But like you would play like a big cyclone, and then he would use his ability and just flip your, for example, flip your big cyclone so it doesn't do anything anymore.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it took like a month for someone to go, this doesn't say cart or staging area, So,
man, I mean, like, I guess it goes to like what they implied the use for, the implication was for us to hit cards in their staging area, not anywhere. But I guess that comes to people who are more spiky rules lawyery. Well, that doesn't say stage, so
it comes from Reno people.
Oh, okay, fine, fair enough.
Shout outs to Zach Pasley, but it comes from Reno people.
That makes total sense then. That makes total sense, that comment.
Even the ones who live in Arizona, it comes from them.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but so it's easy to miss little stuff like that, and I think stuff like that is what makes the game super cool, is that the wording is open-ended and there's a lot of different ways that different mechanics can be used, because you can flip a card in your card pool as seen on Faith Shield. So if a card says to flip something, there's no reason it doesn't include your card pool unless specified, right? And we've seen issues with that in the past where you can pull cards from remove from game because nothing says you can't. You can pull cards from, whatever zone that's implied, basically, if it says to search out a specific card. So stuff like that is always like my favorite to find, especially if it's not actually going to like break stuff. But I don't think they let that one go through, only because the timing on it made it... I don't know if the timing made it beat Breaker, but it beat a lot of really weird specific stuff. So I think that was it. It was specifically an interaction issue, but most of the time that stuff is harmless.
Yeah. I think there was a KOF character that flipped stuff in your card pool. Was it? Did Mai do that? Mai unflipped stuff in your card pool.
There was a promo Mai who would let you look at the face downs in your card pool and then flip one face up and play a card.
Oh, that was actually Neomax Mai. That was Neomax Mai 3 dot, and that was the drunken Mai deck that Church played. It was like 40 attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can ignore progressive. And if all your cards are face down, you ignore progressive, you just check it raw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some crazy stuff. That's some crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, there's also the infinite weapons Mai, because you can turn infinite weapons face down with a Zoe card and just do like soft loops.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh
Yeah.
man.
They
I
gotta
miss
be
that shit.
careful with this ignoring progressive difficulty, man. It gets out of hand pretty
Yeah, it
quick.
does. Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, there's a. I think we'll see that more on power cards. Not like overpowered cards, but like ultra rares and stuff like that. We'll see more
Mm.
powerful effects, but not necessarily the entire set being that powerful, which is, I guess, fine in a way, because you want your ultra rares to feel powerful. You don't want them to feel like crap, because then no one feels like looking at maybe aiming for number one. Maybe there'll be a use for it in the future, but right now it felt really bad to open five copies of it, you know. Or
Yeah.
like people were really sad to open, yeah, and I'm just like, dude, eventually there's gonna be enough pieces to mill your opponent's deck out, you know.
We're like
So
one away. They just got to put them all
yeah,
in the same symbol.
oh, for sure. Like I wish Gut Punch shared a symbol with Present Mike.
Yeah, everyone.
Like why doesn't it?
All the present Mike players really want that one.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I was playing. There's a guy at my local who plays even Evil Mineta 2, and he's playing Gut Punch because he just wants to mill people out and annoy the shit out of people. So yeah, it was pretty hilarious. Yeah, I scooped to him in game one last night because like, oh, you milled all my kill cards, so we'll just go to game two.
I
And then I
want
hit him
to.
with like a 78 damage howitzer impact cyclone, so that was cool.
I want to have gut shots in the sideboard for Tokoyami's, and I just want to. I just want that. I want to survive one sugar rush, which is like nearly impossible. I know,
Yeah,
but I want to survive one sugar rush,
just to
and
do
then
that
just
to
turn
them.
around and gut shot them.
And then it's like there's that gif of the dude sweating. They're just like, oh my god, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, you hit them with the mill yourself or draw 25,
Yeah,
and then mill anyway.
yeah, that's awesome. That's hilarious. So
Oh
have you
man.
have you gotten to play much of set two outside of just prepping for the regional?
It's kind of weird. I played a bunch of it on TTS when the stuff was revealed. Um, Leading up to the regional, I pretty much only got to play a couple of times. I missed my locals, which really sucked, and so the few times I did show up, it was really important to me to get that quality playtesting time. Just being able to tap my resources like Brandon Jones, like Brett Hillman, my locals Orlando and stuff like that, like people who've been around for a minute, like really get those games in. A lot of the online people, like it's just everyone's schedule is super busy, everyone's flying in, you don't get like those last minute games.
Yeah.
So the only stuff I've really played in set 2 is air decks and life decks.
Okay. Cool.
And
Who are before you continue after you're done? Who are some of your standout characters that you've gotten to play against or you've played yourself after you finish your comment? Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. You're good. I did stop talking and then start. Toga. I played a bunch of Death Toga like back before the whole set was previewed. Once someone told me she was only getting like Knife Slice and her foundation, like all her cards were revealed. I did play a bunch of Toga, and she sticks out to me a lot. Like Excited for Blood is huge. Her burn on block is huge. Her guaranteed draw and discard is just a big deal. Her stat line is a big deal. Her symbols are a big deal. Like death and life are both kind of a big deal, but evil not yet. But so to me, and Christopher Bromley kind of reinforced the idea that she's like the best character right now. So I see her being just insanely good for a long time. She's kind of like milquetoast into decks that like an eraser head. Like, do you really want to erase Toga that often? And then on top of that, she is still insanely strong that you almost feel like you should. So Toga's the only one that really sticks out to me from set 2. The only other case like Mineta 2 is like this speed bump sort of a deck, but I feel confident in my matchups after sideboarding.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I think he's going to be like how people said Nomu was in set one format, where he's going to be the gatekeeper. Like,
Yeah.
you need to be this tall to ride this ride type deck. Like, you better have answers for him, or you better have tech for it, because if you can't beat him, you have no reason to beat in top 8 or top 16.
You can't play normally. You cannot bring your normal game plan, even if you're not siding specific tech, even though I think it's quite easy to do so for the most part. At least for Mina 2. With Nomu, not so much. You just got to block. But yeah, those are two decks that you can't be asleep at the wheel, and you can't play your normal game plan. So I think that as far as like a gatekeeper goes, they're really just going to ask you, did this person test this matchup? Did you draw the cards you need to draw? Because it's still pretty 50-50. I don't think there's only a few decks that really dunk Mineta 2, but they're not ones you can sideboard into super easily. And those are, in my opinion, Momo and Eraserhead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, does Momo ever care about the Mineta enhance after turn 2?
No, never. That character should never lose to Mineta 2, ever. Ever.
Like,
no reason.
If you don't bring your throw hate, I can see you getting thrown out off bad draws. You could lose to Mill because you didn't bring a 78 card deck, and you do remove a lot of cards with her. But other than that, like you said, like, you should be prepared to go. You should be okay. When I was gonna say, when I brought my sideboard into the regional, I had 2 ultra compressed weights for Frappies and Ochakos. And I had 4 gravity capture lists for Mineta 2 and Sticky Balls and the occasional breaker deck. Like, if you're playing 4 copies of Ice Storm and 4 copies of Ice Wall, I probably want to play a Foundation and then a gravity capture. Create capturing net, because there's multiple net cards now.
Oh, yes, there are. And captures, by the way. There's multiple cards captured in it.
Yeah, there's multiple captures. There's multiple nets. There's all kinds of guns and surprises. And we could do a whole podcast on that. The naming conventions are rough, man. I'm blaming Funimation / Tohei or whatever on this one, whatever the company is.
I'd have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I don't think that's Jasco. We've complained a lot locally about the card naming. I get fed up really, really fast with someone saying, I'm playing Naval. Which one?
Which one are you doing? Yeah.
There's so many.
It's like when I'm playing All Might 3, I just call Ricochet Charge. I'm just like, I'm playing Ricochet, and then I go Teja Smash, because we all have fun names for stuff. So
yeah,
people, it's just like, you have to have fun with the names sometimes, because sometimes the names get kind of lame. Like we have Grape Rush and Grape Rush Attack. And,
oh my god!
It's like, can we, shouldn't Grape Rush Attack? Shouldn't Grape Rush been the first one in a way? But whatever.
Well, what's the worst one to you? Is it Grape Rush?
The name?
Yeah. Like, what's the worst of multiple names, like multiple naming conventions, like near each other? Which ones? Because I think Tongue Smack and Tongue Whip is like about as good as it gets, and it's all downhill from there.
Also, don't forget about what's our other one. There's Tongue Smack, Tongue Whip, Tongue Lashing. Oh, it's Frog Lashing.
It's Frog, yeah, but still, I bet you it was called Tongue Lashing originally.
Tongue Lashing originally, probably. Yeah. I would say it's probably Grape Rush and Grape Rush Attack, or just like, no one plays Grape Rush Attack, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but yeah. It's just,
my least favorite is 1.3 million 1.3 million volts indiscriminate shock.
Oh, you mean just the name itself?
Yeah.
A little too long. The name's a little too.
Well, so 1.3 million volts indiscriminate shock, and now the new card is called indiscriminate shock.
Yeah.
So we have 2 indiscriminate shocks now, and you have to differentiate them by the number.
Yeah, usually, I think most people just call it 1.3 million volts. I think it's what most people call it, or
it is shorter to type. 1.3.
Yeah. That card's actually my second favorite card in the entire game. attack wise.
Ooh, it is. It feels good to put down.
Yes, it does. I can't believe how, like, I'm also guilty of this. Is like that card got slept on for a long time.
You think so?
I think so.
I thought that card was a known entity. Like, I thought it was like the first haymaker. It was the card everyone in Vegas was scouting, man.
Really? Like,
yeah.
Online, people weren't talking about it at all. It was like 25 cents a copy on TCG Player. It was like people were just, I don't know, people were just keeping the tech close to their vests. But
Vegas people don't.
Vegas people don't go online anyway. So
yeah,
we're the one who actually goes online.
Yeah, we're not market people. we just like collect, like we get the cards in the city and we just play the game.
Just play the game, yeah. Because that and like that one, and then my favorite attack because the art fits it, how you play, how it feels when you play it. It's Home Run Comet. That's my favorite attack. Fire game. It's so much fun. It's just like because she has so much joy on her face, beating the hell out of people with a cement pillar. It feels the same way when you play it for game. She is excited for blood, you could say. Oh, gosh. Yeah, she is. I think that card, there's people already calling for that card to get errated. And it's like, why? It's powerful, yeah. It's very powerful. Very powerful.
It's really depressing to play against, but I don't think it's too good. Like, for most characters, you can just block, right? I think the problem I have is I sideboarded Toga specifically because she has guaranteed excited for blood triggers.
Yeah. That's fair. Well, it is her card, so you'd think it would work with her. So yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like it's even more guaranteed than Electric Jolt in Denki. Like it's even harder to deal with, like to stop than that. I don't think you actually can stop it.
Yeah, you can't because even if you block it with like a Faith Shield or a Walkling block, you still technically block and you still burn.
Yeah, there's the only thing you can do is reduce damage to 0, I guess. That's actually it. You can reduce damage to 0.
Are there any ways you could kick? Well, I guess the Kiriguri plus Ultra card kicks the attack back to their hand if you're 10 or under, so it aborts the attack technically. But that would be that or like you said, DRing it down.
Yeah, 0 gravity barrier. Yeah, like a thing that wipes an attack, sure. Like that, but even then, like, excited for blood triggering off cost being paid, like it's pretty open-ended. They've left that to be, like, easy to activate.
So I was playing against the Moneta 2 with my Death Toga that I had just thrown together for just trying to see if the cards actually work together properly. And he cut himself for some effect. Oh, it was for, what's his 4-diff attack? Like Grape Rush Tackle or Sticky Ball Tackle?
Sticky Ball Toss Tackle, SBTT.
Yeah, he was like, I cut 2, and I'm like, I gain 1 with Toga, respond, discard, draw, discard, respond, excited for blood, pay 2, draw a card, flip, draw, and gain 4. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I get to activate off a cost. It didn't say your turn. So that was something.
Bruh.
I was like, oh boy, I get to do this on your turn. This is awesome.
Yeah, I remember I played against a Toga who sided into Monoma, and then I sided into Toga. So he had to be the same exact deck, but with a smaller hand size. It was hilarious.
That's very funny.
And then,
go ahead.
I was going to say, on top of that, he didn't actually deal any damage to me until I misread a back alley haymaker. I thought it was a high attack. But so even then, like, it only worked to his detriment because if he wanted to put speed on stuff, it would activate my Excited for Bloods, which I would then unflip with Trace Sheet Cape. Or in testing, when it was just a Toga deck, not an Ochako deck, I had Naval Laser Beams. So, like, just the sheer restriction, like the sheer value of just flipping to gain 4 off of little stuff is pretty scary.
Yeah, it is. My question is, how do you feel about Monoma as like the premier sideboard character on those symbols? Do you think that's what he's going to be? Do you think someone's actually going to take him as the main like character in a deck, or is he just relegated to sideboard tech for all infinity?
Well, obviously people are fans of the character, right? They're still gonna play him. And then I know of at least one Monoma starter who played in the regional, the Vegas regional. I believe Martin McMahon.
Okay, Martin did it. Okay.
Yeah, I believe. Don't quote me, but someone was saying he was running around. He's always talking about it.
Yeah.
But we were having an argument about Jetstream Crash and like gaining keywords with Monoma. So I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna stick with it or not. Because right now, if the card says your next kick attack and you give it kick in the enhanced step, that doesn't count. It's looking for when it's played, because of the definition of next attack, and it's like mildly ambiguous in the rules because they talk about how this attack and this kick attack are the same. It's just with kick added. They don't have that clarification for next attack, but it seems like they would be the same thing, right? Anyway, so I know like there are people who are down to play him mainboarded. I think you mainboard him more than you should sideboard him personally. I don't think siding him is actually that great of a plan, only because you're already building a deck around like one other character kind of a thing anyway, and now you're going to have to like try and adapt your deck that's for a different character into a third character that you didn't even know about. And so it still seems really niche. Like the idea of being a 6-hand size Mineta is really cool, but if you're a 6-hand size Mineta with no throws, I don't feel that great. I know that he gets to like give specific keywords, so like you like stealing like all the characters I'd want to steal as Monoma are like 7-handers, and then I don't want to be like a 6-hander Suyu Asui. You know what I mean? So I think he's got really cool combos. I would rather start as Monoma than side him. In my personal experiences, trying to side him most of the time. Ooh.
And I have 3 different builds. I often one of each symbol, like the weapons build for all gives everything punches, so I can use all the cool punch stuff.
And then gutter punk elbow?
No, kind of lame. No, I don't have that in there. I'm playing slashing whirlwind though, so that's kind of weird.
Ooh.
But because I can pull no punch and I can go attack, pull no punches in those attacks, and then use slashing whirlwind if I get the 2 momentum.
Okay.
It's still draft 1, and then the good version puts charges and punches on things, and then the light version is just like a value town, add charge to everything, and then just slap down like a giant ass home run comment.
Yeah.
So I think that one may be the funnest, the more fun build out of the 3, but it's also the more spiky build, and there's a bunch of new players coming on Saturday. So I think I'm going to play the all version, which isn't, I think, the best version in general, so people can have a lot of fun playing against him. But I am excited to like touch other characters and be like, I get you, and then laugh like a maniac like he does in the show. So that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I like the life version because I can play a mostly ranged lineup, and I can give it charge for home run comment, or one of my favorite Monoma plays, which is just like Janky Ochako 1, but if you can copy somebody who like gives good stats, obviously you're like better, but I like to give 0 gravity lift ranged and then add it to my momentum with amphibious ambush. Yeah.
That's cool. Because with MHA, attacks don't refresh when they resolve, so they get to keep the keywords on them. So that's pretty awesome.
You do not get to combo. So anyone who's new in the chat, anyone who's listening to this on YouTube, you don't get to do the combo. But honestly, when I was playing Ochako 1 over the tournament, there was legitimately about half the time that it was not even worth it to do the combo. One of those matchups, in all fairness, was because I was against a cement toss, and he had one face-up ready foundation. And I was like, I guess I combo this away so you don't ready it later. But then I looked and he had no cards in hand, and I was like, I guess I don't do this combo. Like, it was very weird. Yeah, I'm like, he can just ready this at any time and flip it. Like, I'm not getting any bonus damage or speed. He's got no cards in hand. Like, so the combo, like, never mattered the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a feeling that people like because like going into set two and when we saw Cementos, like everyone was like, oh my god, he's gonna be like the boogeyman of the format, blah
The
blah
meta
blah.
maker.
He's gonna be the meta maker, and it's more like fourth kind's actually the one getting some traction out of those plus ultra packs, you know.
Yeah, it turns out foundations are actually kind of useful. It turns out that unless you're... So I haven't seen anyone play alleyway ambush in him, which is kind of weird to me, but, you know. So the stuff I've seen is people playing Earth Deadlock with face down synergy. I don't get that. I try to avoid discard build. It's not quite there yet. There's only like one real discard card unless you're, you know, specific characters. So I didn't like that. The one build that has worked out for me really well has been the air version playing Frog Lashing, because we're already just a symbol that's like Mongoloid aggro, play 1,000,005 diffs and pass them all.
Yeah.
And he has an insane capacity for that. But because the air symbol has no real defense, especially on board, and it has like no real defensive draw because you'd be attacking with it, kind of a thing, like, you know, you get like specialized sound waves and that's it. The deck just gets blown out. 30 health is not a lot if you have no defensive ability.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm out of the plus ultra packs. I really want to play Snipe because I think I like what he does and it's kind of cool. Not that I know I don't know if he's actually any good, but he just seems like he'd be a lot of fun to play a lot of locals and just gamble off the top of the deck. You know, it just seems like one of the cool card effects.
Snipe is my Garrett killer. That's my choice. Like I was talking to Daniel Nelson earlier. The idea I like about Snipe is originally I was like, you can play Airwall and you can get Earphone Jack and you can both progress your opponent towards burning to death, even if they block everything. You can block everything and slowly progress them towards milling out with, you know, Earphone Jack and his enhance. And I really liked that concept. He also gets Sports Festival Stadium on both air and death. But the thing that Daniel Nelson pointed out is he also gets guaranteed excited for blood triggers.
Oh, because he burns them. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you play ranged attacks.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's pretty cool. I never thought of that. I don't own a copy of that. So that's probably why I haven't thought of it yet. But yeah, that's kind of cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he has like a weird interaction with Knife Slice, like sort of in the way that Toga does, but like just like he can actually proc it during an enhanced step, which is interesting. So there's a couple little things, but like mostly the idea is I don't actually have to kill you with Snipe. You will get there eventually, which hasn't been something you can that hasn't been something you could really rely on in set 1 at all. And we really still can't in set 2, but I'd really like to see Snipe going forward. I'm thinking about playing with Sports Festival Stadium. That way you get around Nasty Breakers, you get around Faith Shield, stuff like that. So I'm excited for Snipe.
Yeah, he looks really cool. His foiling's really cool too. That's another thing I want to give props to Jasko. Your foils are great.
Ooh,
Except
okay.
Except for the XRs in set 2, they're very sad. But everything else, the plus ultra packs, they look great. The RLE foils look great. So they really stepped up their foiling game in the MHA format. So
yeah, I've been a fan of the foils recently. I don't think anyone does foils like the way I'm nostalgic for. I really like holographic, like Pokemon Set 1 type shit.
Sure.
Like
I get you.
Sparkles and Stars just work for me. Like I don't think that's like super popular. Like it's not cool with, you know, the action shonen anime boy crowd or whatever. But like, fucking, you know, the naval laser beams are always gonna be the tightest foiling.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not the most popular card, but if we got like a tummy laser attack as a champion card, just having like the beam, like say a foiled champion, you know what I'm saying? Like how it goes in the background, like that would be so sick.
That'd be cool. Yeah. in Old Score Z, the Old Score Dragon Ball Z game, their foiling was awesome. Like you had firework explosions, you had like this really like kind of like they had one set where price for piece foiling, where it's like the raining looking foil. They had that as a full foil.
I love
they
that.
did a lot of cool things, and I'm glad Jasco stepped up like their foiling patterns. I would say on their special cards, obviously, because normally it seems like they have their XR foil pattern for the set where it's like the little circle in the background and it kind of like sprays out from there.
Yeah, it looks okay on Evil Gaze. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True. Very true.
Which, why are there all these death actions with people looking at me with one eye? Can we just talk about that?
Is Ready Set? No, it's not Ready Set. Is Go for the Win like that? Is he winking or does he have like one eye open?
Oh, I bet there's still one dominant eye. I don't think he's winking, but I bet you it could count if you really got technical.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Hey, friend of your show and friend of everybody. It looks like Andrew got second at one of the provisionals today.
Ooh, way to go, Andrew Holder, Go Beyond Gaming.
Yeah.
The Andrew.
He sent a picture of his Selkie mat in the Discord chat. That's
he got that's tight. He's getting the set 2 stuff. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. They had the set 2 provisionals there this weekend for sure. So.
Damn. Well, that's something I actually did want to talk about, and I think that's a good place to kind of segue and wrap it up a bit. We've been killing it for over 2 hours now. So first of all, thank you, anyone who's been with us this whole time.
Yes, thank you for listening to this old man ramble about older days.
Thank you, Chris, for jumping on with me and just I've had a wonderful time. I don't want to stop, but I got other stuff I do have to do. Giggles won the second provisional, so congratulations to Jeffrey Kahn to Giggles. That's Jesse Cervini in the chat. What's up? How you doing, buddy? But so before we kick off here, before we go away, I wanted to ask you, Chris, what do you want to see from this weekend, from the regional, from the big one, the license exam? Who do you want to win, like character-wise?
I want All Might to finally take something down.
Okay.
I want All Might 3 to win an event. I think it just needs to happen because I think that character is really, really good, and he's always going to be really, really good because being an 8 hand size 30 health character with damage and speed pump will never be bad.
Okay. That's a little bit of a hot take. That's just a tiny bit.
It is. But I think what I think I really just don't want to see carbon copy last weekend. I want to see people's new iterations on this stuff, and I want to see. I don't know. I don't want to see a bunch of Mei Hatsume decks, even though she's a great character and she's super cool. I want to see a top 16 or a top 8 that was as diverse as last weekend, and I thought that was great. And granted, it is a card game, and people see, hey, Tim won with this. I'm going to try to play it.
True.
Because you are not the mathematician, Tim Keefe. Tim Keefe, you are not the mathematician.
Yeah,
that man is an amazing card player. He's so fantastic.
Yeah, he's really somebody who I learn from. Pretty much every time I play against. And that, as much as I'd love to be like a better student, like this is on me too, but that's not something that I say a lot, at least not these days. I don't walk away from every single game learning something new. And so whenever I play Tim Keefe, there's always at least some change in my perspective. There's some, even if it's just like the reassurance of something I knew, like Tokoyami Sugar Rush is nuts, That's the kind of stuff that I really appreciate playing against him. For me, I want to see a mill deck win. I'm ready for a mill deck to step up and punish these slow-playing Mei players, to punish these Tokoyamis, these Sugar Rush decks, these Rikido Satas. I want to see a mill deck win.
That would be I will say I would not be disappointed if that happened. That would be amazing. It would be cool.
I don't care if it's present Mike. I don't care if it's Gutshot Mezzo Shoji. I don't care if it's Nathan DeWalt playing 21 attacks and he's actually just milling people by choice. You know, if it's not a mill deck on purpose, like if it's just Momo playing defense, I'm here for it. I want to see a deck that intentionally makes the choice to, you know, again, it doesn't have to be like specifically for mill. I want a mill victory in grand finals.
That would be cool.
That would be so sick.
That would be cool. I know that some stuff went down because I guess Daniel Nelson tried to mill Garrett out, and do you not know who Garrett is, sir? Sir.
At one point, he said he counted like the cards left in deck or discard, and I was like, "Oh, I can just mill them." And then apparently Garrett like caught on to it, and he was just like, "Well, I can still just play attacks and take the time up," you know, like so.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, Garrett's like, "I can adjust my rate of play accordingly, young man."
Who is this newfangled kid? Who is this one young whippersnapper? Garrett Brett? Never heard of him.
Yeah, true. You know, can you imagine if Daniel Nelson's just like, I want a provisional. Who are you?
I know, right? And it's just like you have like the heavens open up and all of Garrett's cardboard slowly falls down.
Bro, it's on the mat.
Like, oh yeah, it's like
he's got his card art in the background of his mat art.
That is also true.
Which one of his card arts is him looking at his card art.
Card art. It's so Inception of him. It's so Garrettception of him.
Bro, when you get to 6 characters, you run out of idea. You know, like you got to get self-referential.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that was really good to see him. I like on last weekend. That was really good to see a lot of the older players come out. That was really cool. Like Shoemaker was out there. Phil was playing. It was really neat, and to see a lot of the old heads mixing it up with the newer kids. You know,
it's an exciting time. It's very cool to see people I've known for years, you know, show up in person and have a blast, play the game right next to shoulder with people who have started playing since October. You know, it hasn't even been a year, and we're all such good friends. Everyone's hanging out. Like, it's so cool to see. And the people, like, the post that bothered me the most, like, in the early days before the set dropped, wasn't even, like, people complaining about information or distribution or pre-orders. It was the people who were talking about how there's this older community chomping at the bit to, like, beat new players. And, like, it's just the most asinine assumption to ever make out of any play group ever. Like, it never rang true a single time. No one was like really bragging about it. You know what I mean? No one ever projected that out there. And I think everywhere I've turned, the older communities have just done nothing but accept newer players who are here to learn and play.
Exactly. I think it's more, maybe someone said down the line like, hey man, I'm really excited to play these new kids because, you know, back in the day we struggled to find people to play against. So it's really exciting to have all these people play. And I think that's just lends itself to the IP and to what Jasco's created.
Yeah, definitely. I will say this, going forward in the final, you know, we'll wrap it up with this because I like to end on a positive speculative note. I like to have like a futuristic optimism to sort of cap off all of these. And I want to say first, I want to see in sets 3 and 4 like specific defensive options that don't stop my opponent's turn, but also like get me out of blocking, like this block punishment. So like, I don't know if it has to be like zero gravity barrier style cards. I don't know if it has to be damage reduction. I don't know if it's just like straightly mitigating the damage, but I want more cards like the one that says they have to play a foundation or pass. Yes. I think it's learning the standards.
Learning the standards, yeah.
Yeah, I want cool cards like Kirogiri's card. I want like defensive pieces like that. from sets 3 and 4 because I don't want to rely on blocking all the time just because they've proven that they're going to print cards that punish blocking. Yep. And also it changes like different styles. Like certain characters aren't going to be as good at blocking. So that's the number one thing I want to see. I want to see defensive cards that are not related to speed or damage, basically. Not related to card stats.
Yeah, I understand.
They can be cancels, they can be resets, they could be things that just flip a card to like ruin combos. Just little stuff, man. Like, and I don't want them to be remove costs, I guess, is a big part of it too. Like the flip cost is fine, commit is fine, but I wanted to ask you, if there's one thing you wanted to see printed, if there's one thing you felt like the game needed, what do you want to see from the next set? Like, what card are you, like, just anxious? Like, what kind of effects are you anxious to see?
I would like to echo you. I think DR, like damage reduction, is one of the coolest tools to have when you don't want to block. And it changed, like you said, like there are block punish cards, but I think that having not on the same symbol, but like spread out maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like good, I think good has the most damage reduction currently.
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
It's like tied with Earth, actually.
Yeah, I think it's them and Earth.
Because Earth has like some life gain on it, but good has like one extra piece of damage control.
Okay. I would like to see DR. I would love to see a card, like one of my favorite attacks in standard come back, but I don't know if we'll ever do it because Froppy exists. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter with her, but I would love to see a Kunoichi Nomai come back. Where you clear both card pools and you both draw that many cards.
Oh my.
I think that would. Oh yes, definitely. Oh my. You would definitely. I think it's kind of cool because it's both players clearing and drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So it have a beneficial effect to both. Maybe you put it on a one check. Because it's super powerful, and maybe it's infinity, or maybe it's off of like non-Asui symbols. Just. Because I don't know if you want to give that to her. I don't know if that matters because her card pool's mostly cleared and your card pool's stuffed, so it would actually be plussing you and not really her. So,
yeah, you wouldn't fit it into the tongue whip versions, obviously. No. I was going to say, if you just take off the static that it ignores progressive, it's probably fine to put out into the wild because, like, a Froppy could play it for less gains. And other characters could play it for higher gains with like a higher risk reward. So it would fit it'd fit that flexible role. And I love that answer because Nomai rewards both players for playing the game. Yep. If you know your opponent is playing a Nomai deck, you know that they're trying to go long, but you're no longer afraid of, you're no longer necessarily jammed because it is that symmetrical clear and draw effect. So I love that idea, like to print a card that like is really strong and powerful, but lets your opponent play the game to play into it rather than just saying, well, I have to wait because struggling for studies is not available.
Yeah, they can give it death if they're gonna put symbols on it. Give it death so Mina 2 can play it. Because that would be awesome.
Ooh,
and give
gross.
Her charge. I'll be cool. Or punch her range or whatever she does. I don't care. I just want to play it in Mina so I can clear a card pool, draw a million.
Can I meet you in the middle? Can we compromise on it being an action card?
I actually do not hate that idea.
Okay, because there is an action card that's kind of like Nomai, but it is a one check.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the what is it?
Covert intent.
Yeah, covert.
Yeah. I could see them doing something like that. Like that was, and Covert Intent was really cool because you could do it defensively. Not that anyone ever pulled it off successfully. Typically, you don't have that. You're not blocking well with one checks in your deck. But that card was super, super cool and one of my favorite casual cards to run out.
Yeah, that card was neat. Yeah. I ran the other card though. I ran the Ryu card, in the game of Cash decks just because it was hilarious.
It has my favorite part of Leona Blade, so there's that.
Yeah, definitely. That was a card that kind of came back, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
They didn't have stun 3 in it though, so that kind of made it kind of sad. So, but
True.
You're a mill deck anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it if it had stun on it, you could maybe see. I could definitely feel much better about playing it in like those super long, like string together everything, massive difficulty decks. But yeah, I can definitely get behind that. Playing like I want things that, like, I understand you need to be able to make crucial decisions and choose where you interact. But having cards that aren't just strictly punishing me for playing as much of the game as my opponent, especially when we're looking at effects like Froppy 1, that's kind of what I want to see too, I would say.
I totally agree.
So,
as long as both players get to play the game, I'm totally happy.
yeah. All right, man. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank everybody for listening in. If you have any plugs, I know you're with the Universus Academy guys. If you've got any shout outs, any plugs, now is the time for it, Chris. Please let them know. Talk to the people.
I want to thank Sam for having me on his wonderful show. I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. I want to thank my compatriots over at Universus Academy, Matt Childress, John Jennings, and Ryan Kraft. They do all the hard work. I'm just the face and I talk. So they do all the hard work. So don't let them say that I do anything, because I don't. I just talk. And my play group here in Rockford in Northern Illinois, shout out to those guys. You guys are great. And we'll take home some top cut finishes this season. Hopefully.
Awesome, man. One last question for you. Is there anywhere that you're planning to travel to? Is there anyone that, if anyone wants to meet you in person, see you anywhere on the circuit, do you have any travel plans?
Gen Con. That's the next one. Other than the webcam provisionals, Gen Con is, I plan on being there. I'm
awesome.
There Saturday and Sunday, so yeah, that will be there.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you once again. I am Sam Tate. I'm Ace Maneuvers. This has been Chris Smith. That's another orange card, blue card in the books. I hope you all had a wonderful time. We will see you next week on Thursday for another episode. Stay gaming out there, and always remember, it's a card game. We're here to play and have fun, guys. We'll see you next week.
Good night.